Hey, spooky kids, broadcasting from the crossroads of America and the great Midwest. This is Into the Night, and I am James Mitchell. The story headline today: Mom, Grandma blame ghosts after toddlers test positive for fentanyl, say the police. Christ. 2 women in Newton, North Carolina are facing criminal charges after being accused of causing severe injuries to 2 toddlers in their care. The defense is citing paranormal activity as the cause, according to a local ABC affiliate television station, WSOC. Emily Marie Edwards, 25, and her mother, Sherry Jean Edwards, 54, were each arrested on August 16th following a grand jury indictment on 2 accounts each of felony child abuse causing serious bodily injury. Law and Crime reports. The charges are based on allegations dating back to December 2023. The court documents reviewed by WSOC said that a 1-year-old and 2-year-old suffered multiple injuries, including burns, bite marks, and broken bones. I can't stand it. I hate hearing this stuff about kids. Additionally, both children tested positive for fentanyl. When questioned by the Newton Police Department, the Edwards women reportedly said that the injuries were the result of evil spirits within their apartment in Newton, about 40 miles from Charlotte, North Carolina. According to Newton Police Chief Vidal Sipe, I hope I butchered that all to hell. But that guy, he said that the women mentioned that they had been using a Ouija board, which is used to attempt to communicate with spirits, and suggested that the injuries were inflicted by these spirits during nightmares the children had experienced. The basic response was nightmares, Sipe explained, WSOC. They heard the kids yelling and went over to find injuries on them, and they claimed that the spirits in the house were responsible for these injuries. The indictment accuses the women of acting with a reckless disregard for life and failing to report the extensive injuries observed on the toddlers. The court demands detail the children's injuries and suggests that the abuse was a result of actions taken by the mother and grandmother. Sipe also said there was possibly a 3rd adult involved who passed away earlier this year. Neighbors in the area have expressed skepticism about the Edwards account of events. One neighbor who also spoke to the TV channel dismissed the notion of paranormal activity, saying, "I think that's crazy. I don't blame them. I mean, come on." Currently, both women are being held in Catawba County Jail. Bond set at $25,000 each. Emily Edwards has already appeared in court on Monday, August 19th, but her next hearing is not on schedule. Sherry Edwards is due to appear on October 7th. I can't fucking believe it. You know, what do you say about something like that? I mean, what do you say about something like that? I don't know what to say. I hate hearing about children being hurt, and thank God they're not dead. Thank God hopefully they get put into a more stable environment. I just hate to hear about that. Sorry to bring everybody down right away. What do we have here? The question of the day. You have your own late night talk show. Who do you have as your first guest? Crow of Judas. This isn't a what if situation for me. It's already happened. Well, tonight we have the pleasure of with welcoming an incredible duo. They've spent the last 3.5 years dividing headfirst into some of the most haunted locations across the world. They've explored iconic places like Cottonwood Mansion, the eerie halls of the Washoe Club, and the shadow-filled rooms of Waverly Hills. They've even been to the famous Conjuring House. Their investigations are not just about gathering evidence, but doing so with an unwavering commitment to integrity and authenticity. In a field full of fakers, they've carved out a space for truth, sharing only legitimate paranormal encounters with their growing community. What really sets them apart is not just their dedication to uncovering the unknown, it's their open-mindedness, their warmth, and their loving personalities. Whether they're hosting live streams or engaging with others in the paranormal community, their energy is infectious, and their willingness to learn, debate, and even call out what they believe to be bullshit shows just how genuine they are. Outside the haunted, when they're not uncovering the mysteries of the supernatural, they lead equally fascinating lives. Kassy is a book lover and a music enthusiast, and Raun is all about smoking and grilling the perfect cut of meat, often losing himself in barbecue videos on YouTube. This is a couple that knows how to balance the thrills of paranormal investigation with a laid-back lifestyle. You all know them very well as Weeping Willow Paranormal. Hey. How are you guys?
That was such a great intro. I'm very impressed. Probably the best one I've ever heard, so thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I love, people need to know who they're about to listen to, or who they're looking at. What we got in the chat here? We've got, is it going to show me? Or so far it just says me. I see Wayne Dawson, Rothside Paranormal, Ryan Hart. We've got Alyssa, Candy7, Caroline Saxby, Cheryl King, Hauntingly Beautiful Adventures, Horror of Horror, Michael Burkeen, Rothside Paranormal, Wayne Dawson, I mentioned you already, I Love You Twice, and Wisdom, all in the chat, here to hang out with us tonight. Kassy, Raun, it is a privilege to meet you and to sit here and speak with you today. Thanks for jumping on. Thanks for jumping on with me tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I've been paying attention to you guys. I learn about everybody through the chat. I see who's in the chat, and you can tell usually by their chat name if they've got a channel, you know. And I found myself on your channel, and seeing, you know, it's one of those things where you seem to be able to balance real, legit, as raw as it can be without it being too boring, you know. Right, because I understand how that is. It's like this is just, you know, but you're able to find the right clips and keep what's real and keep it entertaining. It's really where I'm trying to go with that. To call it not boring isn't probably the most flattering thing ever, but I meant that in the most kindest way possible.
That's the thing. Paranormal investigation is boring.
It is. It's a lot of sitting there and not getting anything for long periods of time. So how do you both get into this? How is this something that both of you happen to be into?
So I dragged Raun into it 3.5 years ago. But for myself, I've always been interested in the paranormal. I've read a lot of Haunted Canada books. Sorry, our son is... Okay, sorry.
You're right.
Back up. Sorry. Guys, most people know we have 5 kids, so trying to wrangle.
Okay.
5
busy.
Kids,
Yeah.
So, very busy. But I've always been interested in paranormal. I didn't really know investigation was a thing, but I used to read a lot of Haunted Canada books, Haunted Ontario books, Goosebump books, R.L. Stein. It was my world. I wrote a ghost story in grade 4.
Nice.
Back in 94, so I was like 10 years old. And it was in May, so it wasn't even like Halloween time, and I wrote it and my teacher marked it, like I still have it. So it was actually pretty dark. It had to do with demons and stuff. But anyways, so I've always been interested in the paranormal. And then I discovered 5 years ago, 2019, September 2019, I remember pretty vividly, that I discovered paranormal on YouTube, because before I didn't know that really was a thing. And then I kind of got very involved in the community. And then I met Crow probably like soon after that. And then for years, and then anyways, about 3.5 years ago, I'm like, I want to do this. And he's like, do it. And he's like, put it on YouTube. And I was like, I don't know. I'm not techie at all. So I had to teach myself how to use everything. And then Crow was like, pushed me, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm. And then I dragged him along.
Yeah. So. I love to hear, it's really interesting how many people will tell me that Crow is the one that gave him the push. That gave him the push. Very good guy. And you can always reach out to him, and he's there to help if he's a wonderful guy. So that's awesome to hear that. So you were always into it growing up. It was something that you were into.
Yeah.
So you were 4 years old in 1994. Do you remember Unsolved
10.
Mysteries? Do you remember? Oh, 10 years old. 10 years
I was
old.
10, so yeah,
Okay,
I
so
do
you're
remember.
84. Okay,
I used to
okay.
watch it on black and white TV
Okay.
in our backyard in a tent. So
Nice. VHS and a lot of it.
yeah.
Do you remember Sightings? The show Sightings and there was a few others.
That one.
Sightings, yeah, that one was like in the early 90s. So you would have been like like we were just talking like 10 or a little younger.
Yeah, I don't know. Because also Canadian TV is different too than the US, I find.
That's right.
Depending on
That's
the
right.
channels. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's probably just an American syndicated thing or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So you had all these interests growing up. You're writing stories. Did you have Did you have something happen to you when you were young, or something like that?
So, I mean, I guess out in the world. We're kind of talking about on other things, but I've had experiences when I was little. And one in particular, I was probably 3 or 4. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember this. But my parents were driving. I was in the back seat, and I started screaming because I said either I heard or saw something. And my parents had to stop the car, and then they thought I was going to jump out, and I was scared. And then that was one story. But looking back, I was on Lundy's Lane. If anyone knows Niagara Falls, Ontario, Battle of War of 1812, Battle of Lundy's Lane, it was a battlefield. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm just like, speculating, but that could be a thing. And then through the years, I've kind of had some experiences of things, but then growing up in the church, basically they told it was spiritual warfare and demons and to block it. So for years I kind of did that, and then but then 5 years ago I was like no, this is, I kind of took it back for myself kind of thing. So like that, but 5 years ago is when everything kind of changed for me, like in my life. So
Okay. Ron, do you have a story like that? You got something that happened to you, or was it just you were just completely dragged into this, had no interest in it whatsoever? Yeah. Yeah. Are you, out of the two of you, who do you feel is more grounded? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
I'm like, oh, okay.
I don't really sense I don't say I don't experience things, but I'm just more. I'm the skeptic, so
Yeah, he's
I'm the one that I have an open mind, but usually I'm pretty skeptical on things.
Okay, so you stay grounded too. You stay on the keep your both feet on the ground, and both of you are kind of going at. Do you ever find yourself you have to? I find myself in situations often where people are sending me stuff. Hey, what do you think about this? And since I'm removed from it, I think that's a nice thing to be able to do. Is, oh, maybe it's this. Consider it's this. Do you feel like you play that kind of role in between the two of you, or?
I think so.
Yeah, I think we kind of mutually do it because we also have another team member, Reese. Like we're all three of us are really very logical about things because we're like, oh, I think in the beginning, maybe it was a little bit more like, oh my gosh, but I don't even think I was oh my gosh, but I think I was a little bit more.
In the beginning, you were,
but not as much though.
No, but you like the apps.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that, but that's what I didn't know better, but now I know better.
Sure.
So
it's a growing experience for both of you. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Growing experience with the both of you, which is awesome that you're able to do that as a couple, do that together, and because it sucks when you have somebody else who isn't into what you're doing at all. You almost don't want to do it at that point, No. So it's cool to have somebody that's that's got your back. That's very good.
Yeah.
So you had this experience, you think, when you were a child. I'm sure it was so you were really young. Do you remember it vividly, or is it just something you remember happening and you were just scared, or you don't remember it at all? This is a story that was told to you, or?
I don't remember it at all.
Okay.
My parents told me it happened, and then through the years, though, I used to see different things in my house. This doesn't make me sound absolutely crazy, but thank goodness this community is pretty okay.
Right.
I could hear things, but never understand them.
Okay.
And then that's why the church, I went to a doctor. I had my brain checked out, so I'm not crazy. and and I just chalked it up to like demons, because that's not demons, but spiritual warfare. I was being oppressed is basically what the church told me. I don't think it was that, and I'd never thought it was that, but I didn't know better, so but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Catholic, did you grow up Catholic? Or is it not a Catholic
Christian,
church?
Right, Christian.
Okay. Did you go to a church about this, and they were the ones that they told you this? You've got this oppression going on. This is what's happening to you. But there were things that you felt it was just like, this isn't. I don't think it's that, because you're the one personally experiencing them. Yeah. And trying to convey that to somebody with words isn't always easy, and getting them to understand, especially if they don't believe it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, my church, I think it was just my friends, and we really didn't go to a church. Like, it wasn't like I announced it, but when I don't know if anyone is familiar with the church, but there's like, in your youth group, there's like learning about your spiritual gifts. Like, everyone has a spiritual gift, and mine was like literally the spiritual gift of discernment, which is like, you know what I mean? So it was just like interesting, a lot of it tied in, but back then it was like, no, but yeah. Anyway.
I was talking about the spiritual gifts with a friend of mine recently. There's like X amount of number, right? I want to say was there like 12? Or do you know that well? Do you know that well? I know it was like, and they all have to do with, spiritualism. And some of it is being able to hear ghosts, being able to capture ghosts and stuff like that, or spirit voices, things like that and it's supposed to be something that, like, because there's a big misconception. The Bible says something about you're not supposed to talk to the dead, or it's bad for you to talk to the dead, or whatever. What it actually says is don't converse with spiritists. And the word spiritist is very interesting to me, because it doesn't say medium or psychic medium, but I wonder if that's what it means. Either way, it doesn't say that it's bad and that you'll go to hell, or that it's forbidden. It just says you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't. So I wonder, why would you even be bestowed these gifts if you weren't meant to share them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, it's weird. I mean, I never could understand. Like, I don't know. I know I sound absolutely crazy, but
not to me. I understand, because I
don't really talk about this much. So that's why I'm like, I don't know.
I went to church. I grew up going to Christian and Baptist church. Okay. And so I was there every Wednesday and Sunday, and in the youth group, and did all that stuff. So I'm very familiar with that kind of lifestyle growing up, especially during the time that we grew up. That was a thing that a lot of people did, I mean, it still is to a degree, but it's a lot less. I'm glad that I had the friends I had when I was growing up, because when I went in my teenage years, it was because a friend of mine asked me to go with him. And he just lived right down the road, so it was easy. It was convenient, and it was fun. It was something to do. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about, so I wouldn't trade that time for anything else. So when you say things like, it's not going to sound crazy to me. It's just not going to sound crazy to me.
Okay.
Yeah, at all. The very first location you guys investigated together, what was that, and how did that go?
It was Prince of Wales Hotel in Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario, which also was a very bloody battle during the War of 1812. Whole town was burned down. So that's like the theory behind why it's so haunted. We investigated room 207, which is like the reported haunted room. It's hard to say because it was our very first investigation, so I don't really know. I didn't really, if people who have investigated me, if you guys watch my channel, like, I usually can feel like sense the room or sense things. It didn't really feel that haunted to me compared to other locations I've been in, but I also don't know if it's just because it was my very first investigation. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. So I kind of want to go back there just to see. But it's a boutique hotel, so it's really expensive. It's like, I think it cost us for breakfast, and there was like $600 and some odd dollars for a night. So.
Wow, was the breakfast good?
Delicious.
Okay, fair. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But see, that's the thing, right? So it's your first investigation. You kind of have like this preconceived idea of what it's supposed to be like, and what you're you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in a way, because you don't know what it's supposed to be or how it so you go in there and you have these ideas of what it's supposed to be, and then it doesn't go that way. Things don't go it's not the way you expected it. I think so. You say it didn't really feel. You've been in other places that were haunted before then, or because you said it didn't feel that haunted. Are you comparing it to things that happened later? Yeah, looking back on it. Yeah.
Yeah, like looking back at it, because now I can kind of, like looking back at it, I'm like maybe, but I don't really know. Our second investigation was at Old Angel Inn, which is also in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and that place felt more haunted, and I had an experience there too. So.
Okay. Yeah, there is a feeling to these homes or to these places. I've encountered that myself. I take that seriously too, because the house I grew up in, it's interesting. Like, there are things that have happened here when I was growing up, and I always felt like there was something around. I remember one time, I don't know if I've told this story. One time, so I never met my grandfather before my father's father. I never met him. He died before I was born, long before I was born, of lung cancer. And anyway, I thought about him a lot, and I always wished that I had met him, And I remember I was in the bathroom, and so I'm sitting on the toilet, and I'm praying to my grandfather, right? Like, if you're there, if you're like watching, or anything, like if you're around, will you let me know? And right as I said that, right as I finished that, the light went off, and then the light came back on. And it was like,
wow.
Not like a quick flicker. It was. And I screamed. Yeah. I screamed, because I was like probably 8 years old, It was crazy. Yeah. It always intrigued me, So I've always felt like there was someone around, something watching or something like that. And when I've found I go into some of these other places, it almost feels like I'm at home. And when I feel like I'm at home, then I kind of base that, okay, there might be something here, which is a strange place to be, just knowing that, how do you find time to balance, what you do with just life? You have 5 kids. You both work. So how do you make time for all this?
I don't know. No, it was. We use a lot of if we're on vacation, usually we're ghost hunting. I mean, Ron doesn't like that so much because he wants to but usually we tie it together. So, most of our channels. So when we were in Virginia City, Nevada 2 years ago, investigating there, and that those investigations kind of held our channel for like a few months, so that we were able to carry it. So that's kind of how we try to do investigations that are multi-parter kind of. And then a year ago we were in Kentucky and we did Waverly Hills, Bobby Mackey's, Octagon Hall, and Old Washoe Club. So, or not Old Washoe Club, sorry, Old Hospital and College Hill. So in West Virginia. So we did a lot. We traveled with our friend Jason from Summer Road and Karen. So we did that. So that carried us for almost a half a year. So that so that's how we do it. We kind of try to bulk up our investigations and kind of hold it. Right now we're kind of in a standstill, just because of life got really crazy recently. So there's that. But yeah, we try to balance it. I mean, I do all the editing. I do I plan. I scout. I'm so it's a lot.
You're the brains. I gotcha. I understand. You're the well, for lack of a better term, the leader. You're the one that wants to do it. Then you're the one making the time, and obviously that not Ron doesn't want to do it, but it's I understand being in charge, doing all the work. You mentioned Bobby Mackey's. I've always been interested in that place. How did that go? Nothing? Nothing?
Gross.
Yeah.
Really loud when we were there because we had a train that was parked outside of the building almost the whole time. Actually, the whole time. So it was really hard because there was a lot of outside noise. I might have had an interesting experience at the very end, and I wish I could have debunked it more, but we were leaving because we had run out of time, and it startled me. So I'm my brain, and it was really late at night, so my brain wasn't fully there. But I don't know if anyone's been at Bobby Mackey's, but there's a bathroom door for the girls. It's kind of like those Western kind of swinging doors. And when I went to, I think it was when I went to leave, the door pushed back at me, but weirdly. It wasn't it was weird. So I don't know, and I just was like, oh, and then we had to leave anyway. So I would have debunked it better if it was like earlier in the night and we had time and whatnot. So that was weird, but otherwise it was gross. It was not safe. The floors wobbled. We were like kind of like testing some stuff, like movement, and we're like jumping, and all of a sudden we just like everything was like bouncing. We're like, no, stop.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's why they're getting a new building.
Exactly.
But I wonder if they'll try and convince us that the haunting has followed them. They're going to tear the old place down, and I don't know what they're doing with it, but it's just one of those things that was always interesting to me, and traveling all the way from there then to West Virginia with you said Doof Doof, and who was the other one?
Jason from Cemetery Road.
Okay.
So he was a part of a team, which is how I actually got involved with paranormal. People, OGs might know this, but it was, so Haunted Side, the name's Haunted Side, I don't want to get into it, but anyways, Jason left, started his own channel. He does investigation, but also cemetery videos. So he'll do a lot of like more like B-roll music, really cool shots of things. He does stone cleaning and stuff. His channel is really cool. So we became really good friends. About 2 years ago, we met in Virginia City, Nevada, and then kind of the rest is history. So with that, so yeah. Right.
And you went and visited, what was it in West Virginia? What was the place?
Old Hospital in College Hill.
Okay. And so this was like, is this your first collab, or is this just something that?
Second.
Okay.
It was like the second trip of a collab. So yeah.
Right on. So you're out there working with other people and having a good time and enjoying. Yeah, you're out there doing the damn thing. And good for you. Just to even go and do it and then start meeting people and going and doing it with them, right? It's like, wow, what a life. What an interesting... I wouldn't be doing this had I not done this. It's really an interesting place. Yeah. I guess we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, your approach versus Ron's approach. What can you describe that?
So, okay. So when I go into a haunted location, I usually try to, like, we're both very logical, but I'll go in and kind of like feel the room. If I get any vibes, before, like, when I first started, I wouldn't really, like, if I felt something or whatever, I would never really say it out loud, and I had things happen, and I'm like, crap, I wish I had said something, because it looks like I'm trying to, like, make it up, you know what I mean? So, like, I started trusting my gut more. So, I tend to hear more disembodied voices. I tend to see more than Ron does. Ron's very skeptical. Like, he's very, like, he'll reason out everything. Like, he did have some experience in Virginia City, and that's kind of because before, so what happened with our team? So initially it was me and Ron, so I didn't want to investigate by myself because for safety reasons, right? You don't want to go into locations by yourself.
Sure.
So I had him come along. He was my camera guy. And then he's like, I don't really like doing this. So my friend Reese, I was in school with to be a massage therapist. So she likes creepy things. So she joined, Ron stepped back. But then when we went to Virginia City, Nevada, Ron came with me, obviously, because it was like a trip for us to go out west without our kids. So then he had some experiences. And then that kind of went, okay, I want to do this kind of thing. So, but he's definitely much more of a skeptic. He looks at it. Okay, you probably can answer this a lot better than I could, but I feel like we're both very logical. I don't know, he's just way more skeptical, which can be kind of a bit frustrating because I'm like, ooh, but also I feel like that whatever that thing wasn't paranormal. Like, I don't know, but
yeah, it's a good dynamic to have. Somebody around. That's what I was asking earlier. Is do you find yourself getting carried away and he has to kind of bring you back sometimes? Does that happen, or is it just? I mean, it's okay. I found, like, I was finding myself, I'm watching some stuff back and I'm like, wow, I was really into that right then. And it's so clearly not something at all, So having somebody else around to be like, hey, maybe it's this,
Yeah. I don't remember a specific instance where I I'm sure I've overreacted. I mean, I ran in Screaming Tunnels, which is like a local legend place, but that was because I saw Reese shift funny, but Ron wasn't there. But like she's like shifted, and then like how her body was language, I freaked out because she was kind of. So like I've run, so I have freaked out over non-paranormal stuff. But yeah, so
yeah. Well, yeah, fair enough. No, I you can't help it sometimes. It happens.
No.
So 3.5 years. What do you think? What's the most rewarding thing that you've kind of gotten out of all of this?
Meeting everybody, like the friendships. We've met so many different people. Like my best friends are like YouTube people. Like, and not just because like I chat, but I talk to them in real life too. So, I've met a lot of them in real life. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that's the most rewarding thing. Just the friendships we've created, and I don't feel like a weirdo because like in my life, like I don't have anybody to talk to really. I mean, I have some people, but like I don't know. I always felt like I was a weirdo growing up, and that's why I kind of pushed things away until I was about 35-ish, like 5 years ago. I'm 40 now, but when I was 35, that's when I felt like things got shifted. I got more tattoos. I started dyeing my hair different colors. Now it's blue, but like you know what I mean. So I kind of fell into it, and I think just meeting the people in the community.
Yeah, that's I feel the same way. Yeah, the community is definitely. I've made some amazing friends. You know, just out of nowhere, and people that I fully intend to speak with for the rest of my life. You know, and at least until we can't anymore. Definitely wonderful people out there. What do you think the most memorable experience at a location's been for you?
So, in the moment, because I have like two instances. So one's in the moment and one's after the fact, looking back at it. But the most memorable one for me was at Mackey Mansion in Virginia City, Nevada. No one else saw it, but I swear to God, I saw a little girl, and I know there's like who she was, we don't know. But I said out loud, like it's on video, and I'm like, she's not on video, but what I said was on video, and I just said, is there a doll over there? Because my brain was trying to like rationalize what I was seeing. And they're like, oh, there's a gargoyle looking doll. I'm like, no, it's like a girl. But it was like, I can picture the color of her dress, I can picture her hair, like, but she wasn't in full focus. But like, that was probably in the moment, that was probably the most on investigation. Like that was probably like the one that sticks out in my mind. Mm-hmm. But looking back at an investigation, when I was in editing, it was, if anyone seen my Cottonwood Mansion episode, if you ever seen, like, I did a YouTube short of it, but it's the mimicking voice at Cottonwood Mansion, and that one, I thought I messed up the audio or something, because I'm such an amateur when it comes to things, so I thought I did something wrong, and I'm like, Ron, listen to this, and he's like, holy crap, and he wasn't there, it was, because we didn't have a babysitter, so he was home and I was just with Reese, but, it was a mimicking voice. I like dropped I dropped the file back on, and like it was the exact same thing. I did nothing. So that one, to me, looking back, was probably the freakiest moment. And then looking back too, I believe, I can't say for sure, but I might have brought that ghost home with me. But I cleared my house and we're fine now. But yeah.
Okay. Well, both of those are awesome stories. Seeing an apparition at all, it's a rare thing. So I have yet to see something other than what I remember when I was a child. But you're talking grown-ass adult, looking for ghosts, seeing something.
Yeah.
What did this being do? It was just standing there? It was there and just, and it was slightly out.
Yeah, just stood there and then vanished. It wasn't like, it was just like, I was like, when I was editing the footage, I'm like, please be something, please be something. There was nothing. I was just like, no. But I swear to God, I thought I saw something, I know I saw something. But,
right. Yeah. And then to discover a mimic voice. I'm not. So explain to me so I can follow. Was this voice?
So basically,
coming through a spirit box? Was it in the room? Was it through a spirit box, or was it?
No, it was through the camera audio.
Okay.
So it was like an EVP, but like through it mimicked my voice. not my voice, sorry. It mimicked me, but in a man's voice. It's really hard to explain. You have to like listen to it. It was like, it was the weirdest thing. I can't explain it. Like, and maybe like I don't know. Was it an audio issue? I don't think so, because it looked like the file was normal. So
right.
But
well, no, that's interesting too. I can relate. I had a woman ask, "What's the date?" And then the woman answers her, "What's the date?" It was more like a question back. It was really, really crazy. Yeah. So yeah, you're saying this is more like it was mocking you, like, or was it just repeating you?
I don't know if it was mocking me. It was just like almost like, I wish I had like, I should review that again, but like, it was like, just like repeating, because I was like, you don't even remember what I said. So we were wrapping up to go. I said, shoot, I should have like looked, I can't remember. It's been a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Roughly, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but regardless, not something that should have been in your audio. I love that.
No.
I like your stomach sinks a little bit whenever you discover stuff like that, right? It's just like, oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty immaculate. So let's say you've got, I mean, we all deal with skeptics or haters or whatever. How do you deal with that and people who think that what you're doing is just a waste of time?
Like waste of time? I ignore it.
Yeah.
So like depending on like in my comments, usually like I try to defend myself, and I'm like a lot of times I just ignore it too, because I'm like they're not gonna listen to me, so I don't. A couple instances, like people will comment on my older videos and be like, "You need better audio." I'm like, "Well, if you watch my new videos, I have better audio." So like, you know what I mean? I didn't say that, but like, you know what I mean?
No,
so like, those types of comments. So, so I don't know. I just kind of ignore it. And I mean, like, people in my life, that's why I don't have a Facebook group, like a public one, because I kind of keep it hidden. Like, I block over 200 people off my Facebook when I post things about paranormal, because I don't want people to know, because I don't want to be lectured.
Yeah, so you just stay away. You don't let yourself be in those situations. Yeah, and you're right. You know, like when people, I mean, it's one thing when it's constructive criticism, but you ever have anybody outright just be like, "You're faking this" or anything like that?
Someone did say something about because I have a smartwatch, but then someone, I don't know who it was, complete stranger, because I didn't know how to defend myself, because like I didn't know how to, like, what way to say it without me trying to be all like whatever. I'll have to see what video. I can't remember what video it was on. But whoever came to my rescue, like, I don't know if someone's in the chat can tell you who it was. It was a not a name I recognized, but they stuck up for me, saying like because I don't use an EMF reader anymore, but when I did, it was my other, like, this person like defended me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So that's really the only hater I've really ever got. Or when I was with Side-Eye Guy, people were complaining about like saying like, oh, you like this place, you should boycott it. I'm like, we went before everything happened. I'm like, so. That's the most I've got. I haven't got a heck of a lot of hate. So
yeah, it's just one of those things that everybody deals with it differently, So I was curious if you've been in a situation where you're kind of forced to deal with people just, a lot of times I get similar answers, people just, because one of the I hear the worst thing you can do is read your comments and get involved in the comments, but I think if you have a thick skin and you're willing, you're comfortable with yourself, then those kinds of things aren't going to bother you so much.
I mean, it bothers me. I used to run a bike pro, and like, so like, I hate confrontations. That's like probably my downfall, because I try to like steer clear of it, because I don't know how to. It's my own insecurities, but
that's
probably not the best for you too. But
I understand. Yeah. I guess what I meant was. Yeah, it's okay for things to bother you. I mean, it's natural to do so, but how you handle that, well, you asked Crow for help. You went to somebody. You didn't just emotionally, start pouring into it, and so good on you for that. When you're investigating, what do you think? How do you differentiate between what do you think is something really going on? and something that you think can be logically explained. Are you merging the two? Are you talked a little bit about debunking. You weren't able to debunk the thing at Bobby Mackey's because you were on your way out. So that tells me that you're somebody who, as I mentioned before, you're looking for the truth. You're not trying to put anything out there that isn't legit. You're debunking as you go along. What is it that, I mean, can you think of anything where you thought you had something and then you investigated it further and it turned out to be nothing?
Like a lot of times it comes across in editing, like when I'm like listening back to EVPs, I realize, oh, that was like where I thought I heard something. Maybe it was like, oh, I realized that's a creak or whatever. Or like if I'm in the moment, like for example, Bobby Mackey's, we have a REM pod. I don't really like REM pods. I've drastically changed a lot of my equipment I use, and I'm starting to back away. You'll still see newer videos of my stuff just because I've not investigated in a while. But at Bobby Mackey's, the REM pod was going off, and it never goes off, and unless it's near Wi-Fi, and we've debunked that. So I've been instances like that where I was investigating someone's house, and I realized, oh, it's right by the Wi-Fi booster, right? But at Bobby Mackey's, we're like, what the heck? Like, it's going off, blah, blah. And as a group, we kind of figured it out, but it was the train, the CB radio and the train that was causing it. Then we went outside and like realized the train was like right behind the building. So like we've done that, a lot of stuff, like or for example like creaky noises. I mean, Conjuring House was just freaking noisy, but like other places that are a little bit more quiet, like we'll hear a noise and like we kind of retrace our steps, like we like see if we can recreate the noises. And sometimes they're just like I can't explain some stuff, but a lot of times we just try to do our best of our knowledge. Or if it's like an EMF reader, like we kind of try to figure it out. Like, okay, that was a wire, whatever. You know what I mean? So, which I don't really necessarily agree with EMF necessarily too, because I don't know. But yeah, sort of that kind of stuff we do. We just kind of try to do our best of our knowledge, because I'm not super techie either. So. And I've learned so much over the years, because before I was an app person, right? Because I thought that's what you did. Like I didn't realize no. So
right.
But like now, like even when I did it back then, I never was like, oh my gosh. I still was very logical about it. I was like, oh, it would say something like demon. I'm like, oh, how funny. And like I wouldn't. If anything, I use the app as like a conversation starter. Like I'll be like, oh, that's a good thing to ask, and like whatever. So I always ask different, you know what I mean? Play it off like that. I never really was like, holy crap, it's Bob.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah. No. That's important. Like being able to. I love that you took the time to figure out it was a train, the CB on the train like that. You know, because it's one of those things, right? Where when it's on TV, it's showing EMF and all this stuff. Their meters are going off like crazy and all this. The more I hear about Bobby Mackey's, the less I believe it's actually something going on there, you know. So just, it was, you know, it's too bad, because I always love the stories, you know.
I know, the stories are great.
Right.
But.
Yeah. What do you think something, one thing that you've learned, I mean, it's too bad Ron's not here to answer as well, but that you've learned about yourselves investigating the paranormal together? Like
learn about myself? Like,
yeah.
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Yeah, something that you've learned about yourselves, I guess the two of you, something that you've learned about yourselves through investigating the paranormal together. So I know it's one-sided here because you're the one answering, but you know, I guess as the dynamic between the two of you, what have you learned about that? You know, like, because now you're how long have you guys, if you don't mind, you guys have been together for longer than 3.5 years. Yeah. So you guys have been together for quite a while.
18 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, together 20 years, married for 18.
Wow. Congratulations. Good for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, nice. So you're obviously now doing things that you weren't doing 18 years ago or 14 years ago or whatever. So now you're doing something else, right? You're going to learn. You're going to learn about each other. You're going to learn more things. That's what keeps the relationship fun, and good on you for being able to do this stuff. Yeah. So what do you think that you've picked up out of, what have you learned about Raun? Let me ask you that. What have you learned about Raun in your time investigating? Yeah. What have you learned about that guy?
I guess I always knew that. Oh, that's a hard question, because I'm like, because That's a really hard question. I mean, like I don't know if I learned anything. I know I guess but I knew he was a skeptic. Because he was raised more hardcore Christian than I was, too, and his views still he's more open now. But I don't know. I don't know if I just play. I guess working as a team together, investigating in particular, we play off each other a lot. I don't know. I just trust his gut and some instincts too. Or if he says something okay, let's figure it out kind of thing. That's such a hard question. That's a really good question. It's I've been together for so long. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's maybe
come back to that when he comes back, because maybe
maybe he's surprised you somehow or something like that.
Yeah, I think him trusting me. I guess I don't know. It seems so silly because we've been together for so long, but he's been trusting me a lot more with the paranormal stuff, and which has really helped me, because I used to second guess myself all the time. It doesn't matter what I did. But then just saying stuff out loud, hearing something, and a lot of times I'll say, oh, I heard something, and then there was an EVP of a voice, right? That, I guess him, I don't know, the fact that he just trusts me, you know what I mean? So
right, yeah, well, he obviously feels like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, good. I love that you guys are, after so long being together, still finding joy in life and joy in each other, and having a family, good. It's rare. So must be why you have such a warmth about you that seems to be infectious, as I mentioned earlier.
Oh, thanks.
So how's your relationship? Has it evolved, you feel like, since you guys have been doing this? Has it evolved in any way?
I think so, because me personally, I feel like we both kind of grow. I mean, this is don't want to get too much into it, but I feel I feel like in the last 5 years, for me in particular, I've definitely trusted myself more. I'm getting better not worrying about what people think of me. So I think that in itself, and Ron's on the same path kind of, because we're very similar in that way. And I think our views on, I don't want to I'm sure he'll say this too, but church stuff, views have changed. So I think that actually he's just walked through the door, so
cool.
He's coming. But so I think you should ask him that question though.
Absolutely. Oh, we were just sitting here.
What question is,
we were just talking about you.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. That's so special.
I was asking earlier about what you've learned about yourselves through investigating the paranormal together. What do you think have you learned about yourself, and also learned about Kassy here? You guys have been together for 18 years, been together for 20, married for 18. It's a long time, and now all of a sudden you guys are doing this. Do you find yourself, she does something that surprises you, or something that you've learned about her? We'll start there.
Oh my God, that's a big question.
Yeah, that's what she said.
It's such a good question. I'm very curious on your opinion, or what you're gonna say.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, put me on the spot.
He asked a great question.
It's a great question.
I'm very excited to be on here.
Man, we're together 18 years, and I guess
The paranormal, yeah.
When it comes to the paranormal, I mean, she's so. I'm trying to think. Wow.
You stumped him.
It's a big question. I don't want to I guess she's really in tune and self-aware of people's feelings, and just really, you can't hide nothing from her.
Gotcha.
Nothing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
She can read people pretty well, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I mean, I could back it up a little bit and say, like, when she first really started getting into this paranormal stuff, I was not keen on it whatsoever.
Right.
Just because of my upbringing, and
I mentioned that.
And but again, Kassie's my wife, right? And and we are together. We're like our best friends and everything, right? So
We're only. Huh? I said we're only friends. You're
we're like best friends. Like, so she's my life partner. I'm and I spend the rest of my life with her. So whatever decisions that she makes in life, or vice versa for me, we support each other, right? So I guess a huge shocker for me, because even I'm making a big life decision right now in life. So, and Kassie's been supporting me like 110% this whole way through. 5 years ago, when I had the same sort of ideas, she's like, no, you're not doing it. So her perspective on sensing like how a person is feeling and where they are in life, she's become very aware of that.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't know. Does that?
Yes, it's a great answer. Great answer. I think it's a great answer. Yeah. And the thrill of learning something like that, right? And now you've put it into words, right? And you've said it out loud. It's like you still feel that magic, right? You still see these things about her that are just like, God, man, like, I did good, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm a very lucky man.
How do you feel the relationship has evolved? How do you feel the relationship has evolved doing these investigations together? You said that she's more open to you know, working with you and seeing what you got planned, or these ideas you have, but how else do you feel that you think it's evolved, you know, between the two of you?
Well, so I mean, I'm not like her doing the paranormal. Like, she went to PEX. There was like this event, PEX
in Virginia. I talked about
Virginia City. So she went the first time by herself. Because I
No, you didn't go because you had to babysit the kids.
Yeah, I had to watch the kids. So, but I support. I'm like, I wasn't too keen on her going, because I'm like, well, you don't really know these people.
I didn't, but now they're my close friends.
Like, it's a whole new circle of people, and you're going way out there to Virginia City, or well, it was Tahoe, Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
And like I've only really, maybe the people that she was going to see and visit, she would do like Zoom calls, and I would pop in from time to time and like, oh, hey, and they're like, oh, Ron, join us. I'm like, nah, it's not my thing. Have fun, you know. And but the funny thing is, now it's evolved, like, where I hang out with these people, and Kassie's like, I'm going to bed now, and I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning, where it used to be her being up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be going to bed. So the tables have kind of turned in that aspect.
Yeah.
But but as for where I was going with this now.
But for us as like how's it evolved?
Oh yeah. So going to Virginia City with her and going ghost hunting in that town, like that place is unbelievable. Like that. I mean, again, I'm not a huge believer, but when it comes to like grounding yourself in areas that you go to, like, so Virginia City was a mining town. Wow. So there was like silver and ores and precious minerals and in that town, right? They're still there. So like that town just has this, like, I can't explain it, but you sense something. It's different.
Yeah. Has a vibe. It's
not like it has a vibe. Yeah, it does. Like,
we got goosebumps driving into like his. Like, I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it.
What? So, me going on that trip with Kassy, I mean, I feel I made a new connection with her, in the sense of now I'm beginning to understand her love for the paranormal, and so I'm like, that's great. Like, so I'm getting a better understanding of like the equipment, being the camera guy, like, you know, being more involved. It gives us something to do as a couple, you know. Right. Me being the camera guy / skeptic, Kassy being the investigator, and Reese coming along, and they, you know, like and I'm just kind of I like being more of a behind the scenes kind of guy. I don't like being on camera.
Yeah.
Like I'm always been that way, you know. So I'm usually pretty quiet, and you know, like when it comes to like asking questions and stuff, like I usually kind of like I do ask questions, but like I'm like, oh, I'd rather just kind of. I don't really want to, but I'll be involved because it's a team effort. It's a team effort. So, and then when we were at PEX and we sat in on this seance, Patty did this seance, and it was kind of funny. There was this one lady sitting beside me, and she had like her dowsing rods, but she was like talking in a different language. It was really awkward, right? Well, anyways, it was different. Like I've never experienced anything like that before. Never even been in a seance, so I didn't even know what to expect there. Yeah. But then, like as she was doing her thing, her dowsing rods kept pointing at me, right? They just kept pointing at me. I'm like, what's going on, right? And then she says, "Oh, they really like you. The spirits, they like you. You know, you're very lucky. You have this thing that the spirits like you." And I was just like, okay, like it was weird. I just gotta like, either this lady's crazy or I don't know, but it was different. Yeah. But one of those little things that happen, I was just like, okay.
I think it's brilliant that you have the camera in the hands of the skeptic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you're genuinely looking through the eyes of the skeptic. You know, he's gonna do camera work differently than somebody who I think is fully in and in the moment and excited. So having a skeptic behind the lens of a camera, I think, is actually very smart. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but it's brilliant.
Oh my gosh, if you see my camera stuff, like you can tell.
Yeah.
It's like he's way better with it, so it was not intentional. It's not intentional.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Keep that up, because that's cool. That's very cool. What's the typical investigation look like for you? You know, like how do you prepare for a new location, and then how do you go in?
So basically, it depends. Like, so usually I'll reach out to a location that's usually known to be haunted. Right now, I emailed like 7 places. I only got 1 response back from Shop Festival, so I had to. But they said they have a lot of plays. But anyway, so I usually will like reach out to a place. Then usually it's like a yes. But like some places are like Hinsdale House or like different locations are like have investigations ongoing, so it's a little bit easier to get in there. So I just make sure I charge all my equipment. Sometimes I do a lot of, when I first started, I did way more background history on locations, but now I kind of go in more blind, just because I don't want to know.
Yeah, you want the location to speak to you.
Exactly. Like, so that's why I do more. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but so I don't usually let like the stories cloud my mind. Like now, back in the day, I did a lot more research on like Prince of Wales Hotel and Old Angel Inn, like all the ghost stories side of those places. So I did a lot more research, and I would talk about that in the history. But when I did the locations, but now I kind of go more in blind, like the Conjuring House. So a little bit of spoiler, I'm gonna be reacting to the Conjuring, the movie. I've never even seen the movie. I knew the stories of the Conjuring House because it's like pop culture kind of thing. Right. But like that place, I had really no clue. Like obviously a lot of it's fake, right? But like that's out in the world. So, but yeah, I tend to go in more blind. And then in the moment, I just kind of ask a lot of questions. I mean, I'm starting to use less and less equipment, or in pods, EMF readers. Spirit box, I do use sensory depth more so than just a spirit box, but I know obviously that's a lot of debate up in the air with that. So I don't necessarily take it. There's some interesting things that do happen with that, don't get me wrong, but sometimes like you can't really take it, like, I don't know, like you can take it how. But yeah, I think we do digital recorder. But I love just having the camera and us like going in there, because then usually I'm like, I feel things, or I usually get touched on the head.
Usually things out when you're on the stairs.
On stairs a lot. I don't know, like that kind of thing. I hear, I don't know. So I just try kind of like, it's like basic stuff, and that's how we investigate. So.
Do you have a favorite piece of equipment? something you like to use every time, or?
I mean, camera.
Yeah.
So, digital recorder,
Hit and miss.
hit and miss. Like I hardly ever get any EVPs off my digital recorder. Like I just don't know if it's just the type. It's like a Sony.
Could be.
Like I don't know. It's just like a basic Sony.
There's
something.
fancier ones out there, but
Yeah, I just have a basic one. I mean, it's really expensive. Like my camera is a Sony AX53.
yeah.
So it's like a little bit of a better camera. But
Well,
that's it.
I don't know if it matters how good your digital recorder is, to be honest with you. I think this is just an opinion. But to me, it doesn't make sense. As an audio person, that's something that I really love. I mean, the only thing you're dealing with when it comes to that is possible like how much intake the microphone will have as far as hertz, but I don't even think that is something that would matter. Anyway, I think you're just, because if people were using, you know, little micro cassettes for EVPs and capturing some pretty amazing things, I think you're going to be okay. You know, I mean, that's just an opinion, but because they used to say that EVPs would never come through on digital recorders, and it's like, well, my camera's digital, and that's where I caught mine, was in the audio of the camera. And I find that EVPs happen. I mean, I have had them in my little, it's a Tascam room recorder. That's what I use, but it's nothing super special or anything. There's things far more elaborate, but you don't need all that, you know. So yeah, I like the recorder, and obviously you have to have a camera. Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear what people tend to like more, and you know, that, like you said about the sensory depth thing. It's hard. I find it to be difficult because you're trying to play catch up the whole time. It seems like you heard a word and it's like, did I hear that word? And by the time you've thought, did I hear that word? Another word's coming through and you're like, shit. You know, like I've missed things, and it's definitely difficult to do. But yeah, interesting things do happen. Solid answers at times and stuff like that. You know, and like, you know, but at the same time, it's like you said, it's not something that you're willing to full on say, this is a sure way to speak to spirits. It's just something where interesting things happen. It's good to verify that, you know, to say that out loud. Because some people will take what you say and run with it and think you mean one thing when you don't. But do you enjoy doing the Estes method, or is it something that you
do? I do like it. There's only been one location where I didn't want to do it because I didn't want my sentence cut off, because that house, it was Octagon Hall in Kentucky. That place had a vibe to it. Like me and Ron were supposed to sleep in the house. No, the mouse was ultimately made me not want to not sleep in the house, but I knew if I had fallen asleep, I was gonna wake up and see someone. Like I just knew it. Like that place's energy was like next level. Like I can't even explain it there. And I knew, trusting my gut, like I didn't want to do sensory depth there. Right. So because I didn't want to close off my senses in that way, because I knew the blindfold and stuff, right? So, and I've trusted myself because I've been in instances where I've not trusted myself, and
that's where I did sensory depth for the first time.
Yeah, that's where you did sensory depth for the first time.
I was about to ask, how did you take it? How did it go for you?
I mean, there was some interesting points and stuff. I didn't really know what, like when I have the headphones on, you're blindfolded, I'm like, okay, you're just listening for keywords, I guess, and that's kind of what I went with, and I just basically would kind of say whatever I thought I heard. Right. It's a lot of static and radio noise, right? So it's kind of like, it's not like you hear an actual voice that says or you know what I mean? It's like it's you're picking like key words out of the radio.
Whatever's clear.
Yeah.
That's why
right?
I do.
More crisp, right?
Right.
So, or like for instance, I've never experienced it, but like if you're in sensory depth and like you think someone touched you or something, or you think you felt something, or you know, heard a man's voice, or you know, I've never really gotten that in depth.
Like with me with sensory depth, and this is what I mean, I'm not saying it's for sure paranormal stuff, but like is when the tone of the voice coming through is different than typical radio. And that's that's when I usually will say a word, because I'm like, that sounds different to me. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's paranormal. Like, that's just how I've done sensory depth. Because, like, for example, when I first did sensory depth, I do not want to investigate my house, because we've had experiences here. I had to clear the house because they were starting to scare the kids. But this is before I even started investigating. I got the spirit box, I got my noise canceling headphones, and I just sat in my office, like right here, put them on, turned it on, and I wanted to see what it sounded like, because I've never experienced it. And I did have where I said, "We want you to believe," come through like that, and I swear to God, I'm not lying. So like that happens. That's why I've always kind of been like, I don't know.
One thing about the spirit box, which I think would be a cool thing if it's even possible to do, would be like, is there a way that you could enhance the sound so that the viewing audience could hear what the person's hearing?
There's like, you use wires and recorder.
But like that to me, at least then that would help people who are watching have a better understanding, or be like, oh, they're just saying that, or you know what I mean, or they're acting, or you know what I mean. So that I think if you could do that, I don't know how expensive to do something like that is, or what the cost is, or
I think it's like logistically, figure it out.
But if you could figure the logistics on that, I think that would really amp up, for me anyways, my belief in the Estes method, like when people do it.
Right.
But then again, with technology, people can just, loop things in, or do, edit the way they want it to be. Yeah. So how do you really know what you're seeing or hearing is real or not? You know? So you really have to be careful, I guess, when you watch stuff on YouTube.
Right, yeah. I've done what you're talking about. You just need a splitter cable that would go out of the auxiliary out of your spirit box, and then you'd put that into the auxiliary in of your recording device, and then just there. Now syncing it up later is a fucking nightmare, so have fun with that. But you have to figure out a way to cue that when you're doing it. But it's nice, and it's like, because then you can hear it back and say, because I noticed, and when I did it, it was like I heard this thing say "evil house," but when I listened back to it, all I heard was what sounded like evil, and I was like, okay, well, what is that? Because you have this, your ears are going to get fatigued after a while, and are you starting to hear things that aren't really there? But it was cool that it did, at least in my opinion, say evil. At least, I mean, it still sounded like it said that, but. Anyway, it's a fun thing to do, so I highly recommend looking into that. Okay. It's just an easy little. You can buy the little connection on Amazon. I'll hook you up. I'll send one. Yeah. Have you ever had something happen that was so intense you had to stop, as far as paranormal investigation goes?
No. I've had moments. Okay, so the Hinsdale house. This is pretty unexplainable. House not really haunted. It might have stuff, but we didn't have a lot of activity there in the house. The land was another story. Okay. So the land, this is when Raun was still a very heavy skeptic, so he was sleeping inside the house.
I really just wanted to meet that meeting.
Yeah, so Levy from Chasing the Darkness, so this is like 2 years ago. It was just before Virginia City. So we went to Hinsdale house. So Levy's in the house, he's investigating, Raun's sleeping. So me and Reese are walking on the property, and then I started getting this is where I learned to trust my gut, because I didn't trust my gut here. I started feeling really scared for no reason. And I was like, I'm like looking around, and it's nighttime, but we were walking before and I was fine. So I started getting really, really nervous and scared, and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. So I asked Reese, I'm like, you feel okay? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And then you hear me say, I think I said suck it up, or snap. I think I said suck it up to myself, because I was like, this is ridiculous. So I'm walking. Next thing you know it, like a couple feet, you hear footsteps running up to us, and nothing's there. I look at Reese and I said, I'm gonna run now. So she's holding the camera. I'm like, I'm gonna run now, and I just booked it. So I'm running to the house. Reese is swearing, and it's really funny because I bleep her out, so it's like it's hilarious. So we get to the house. Lumpy's coming out of the house because he thinks he has to fight a human.
Or a bear.
Or something. Like, we don't know. He's like ready to fight. Lumpy's a huge guy. He used to be an MMA fighter, so he's huge. So anyway, so that's what happened. So I didn't trust my gut. So, but we didn't stop the investigation. We still investigated. But I've had instances like that. Chase Manor in Auburn, New York. I want to go there again so bad, but for some reason, I don't know why she's not letting. It's weird. Anyways, I want to go back, because that's where you hear me swear, but I bleeped it out. So there was a breath so loud that me and Reese were like it was crazy how loud it was, and I swore. So, but we still investigated. So there's instances like that, but we've never actually stopped an investigation.
Yeah, I would hope not. I think that's the worst thing you could probably do. If something intense is happening, I don't think the idea is to stop, Yeah. But some people might, Some people are like, I'm done, know? So you gotta ask those questions. What do you think some of the most common misconceptions people have about paranormal investigations? What do you think they might be?
That it's always active, especially if they're watching a lot of those fakers out there. Things being thrown or demons. I think there's a lot of there's always action happening, and that's why I leave a lot of my stuff in, even though it's blank space. But I want to show people, for example, a lot of these really haunted locations that by Mackey's or Waverly Hills or the Conjuring. I left a lot of it in because I want to show people this is what it is.
This is ghost hunting.
This is ghost hunting, asking questions, and because I want to show, because a lot of people just play things up, or they hear a noise that could just be the creak of the house, and then they go, demons. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's probably the biggest misconception, and that's what going in. I think it's because how I started with paranormal. I started with Crow as my guy, so I always knew. Oh, you're gonna put the kids to bed. So I kind of went in already knowing what to expect in that sense, just because of Crow. So there's that. So I don't know, but but I think for other people, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about. It's one of those things, right, where you're going through your evidence, you're going through all this stuff, and it's just like you said, it's my gosh, you want to show people everything, but if you can't sit through it yourself, no one else is going to sit through it, right? So and then, but being able to determine, it's obviously, you're not trying to pull, like I said earlier, you're not trying to pull one over on anybody, but it's important to put that stuff out there, but you still managed to be able to do that, as I mentioned earlier, and I kind of put my foot in my mouth over it, but what I meant by it was that you're able to do it in a way that is entertaining. Whether you realize that or not, it is entertaining. And I think that is something that people should be, if there are people that are watching that want to do paranormal investigations, or people that are doing paranormal investigations, and they're worried about those things, the best thing I think they could do is look at what you do and keep it interesting and keep it fun. And one of the ways you've done that again is by collaborating with other people that you trust, right? Like Cyanide Guy and Joe Vitale and Dawn, and going to the Conjuring House. How was that experience? What was that like?
It was cool. I really wanted to go. I know the price of it after we read fine print was really expensive, but I wanted to go because I was gonna hang out with Cyanide Guy, and I've already met Joe. I met Joe twice before. At PEX the first time, so in Tahoe, and I met him in Virginia City again. So, and I met Don obviously for the first time, but I wanted to go and hang out with people, and I knew that I wanted to experience the Conjuring House to see even if it was a little bit haunted. I wanted to just go and see what was there. If anything, I guess that's why I knew it was a once in a lifetime thing, because I knew it wasn't going to happen again. So that's why I wanted to go, and it was a really awesome, fun experience with them. Obviously nothing happened, but it was fun. It was just great. So.
Yeah, I imagine being around that crew that had to have been somewhat surreal and awesome, and just, you know, even if nothing is happening, you're around the right people.
Exactly.
Yeah. How do you feel about haunted locations? Speaking of the Conjuring House, how do you feel about haunted locations that have become commercialized? You know, like that, or like Waverly Hills, even. You know, I know that you've been there. I've been there too. How do you feel about that kind of thing?
I mean, I think the way the Conjuring House about it is not great, but like I feel like it gives a good opportunity for people to kind of go into a famous location, and at least with Waverly, like kind of leave you to your own devices. You know what I mean? So like some places, I don't know. It's good and bad because obviously like they hype up a lot of the stories and they kind of, you know, like stuff, but it gives an opportunity for people who are interested in the paranormal to experience it. Relatively, I mean, Waverly wasn't, I mean, it was expensive, but
when I looked, it was like $1,000 a night, and you could have up to 10 people at the time. I'm sure that those prices with inflation have gone up. How long ago was it that you guys went? Do you remember?
2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was like 2012 when I looked at it. I went on the just the regular tour, the $25 tour is what I did.
Yeah.
So they were not loose with us at all. They're like, stay with the group, very militant.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's America, right? If you have an attraction, you know, and you want people to come and check it out, sure.
Yeah.
I do. And this is always going to happen. It leaves room for those who also are not as authentic to come in and make things, you know. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. But I do agree with you on the idea of like, well, if somebody wants to experience it, they can, you know.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the few places in, you know, like where you can do stuff like that. Oh, I want to experience that, and then just go and do, you know. How do you feel that the collaborations like affect your investigation? Because obviously you're around other people who are doing things differently. Are you like taking ideas or cueing differently? Like you know, like say you're working with, I don't know if you were one on one with Side-Eyed Guy or something like that, but here you're working with somebody who isn't Raun necessarily right next to you or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you feel that things change, that you're what's the word? Methods might change a bit?
No. I mean, I'm way more nervous because I'm afraid they're not going to like what I do or how I investigate. That's usually a factor.
Gotcha.
But usually who I've worked with are pretty good at letting me do what I do.
Yeah.
Like Joe basically said, because this was my first time there, like at Conjuring House, like you go at it. So like, you know what I mean? So it's been, so far I've only had really good experiences collabing with people. So like, yeah, good experiences.
Yeah.
So.
With there being fakers everywhere, how do you ensure that you maintain that integrity in what you're doing?
So I think it's just important to like kind of, I mean, okay. So I think it's like really research who you're going to be collabing with is really, and I mean, like with Joe, it was easy. You know what I mean? It's like easy. Our friend Jason, like it was easy because like we could trust them, right? So I think it's important as long as you can trust them. And yeah, so.
What's your take on like paranormal channels that are kind of like, you know, they clickbait or they exaggerate the evidence? But do you feel that it harms what we do, the community? And
I think so, because I know I've talked to so many different people who like just like the paranormal. They're not in the world we're in, and they're like, oh, there's like Sam and Colby and blah blah blah. Like they're all like, oh my gosh, that thing happened. Oh my gosh, you know. And then I'm like, oh, sorry, like that's not real. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it. Oh, of course, our dog is going to interrupt. Let her in.
He's got something to say.
So She always does this to us. Like, as soon as we're on live stream, she's like right there. But I feel like, yeah. So I don't know. I think it does a lot of damage because they're basically making people believe that a lot of stuff is real and it's not. And then it's So I don't like it.
Yeah. I imagine Puppy Dog there was saying he doesn't like it either.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll bite him. I'll bite him in the left butt cheek. What kind of dog is that?
A Newfoundland.
Okay, yeah, he looks big. He looks big. Have you... I don't imagine so, but I like to ask anyway. You ever encounter someone faking an evidence while you're on an investigation with them? Has that happened yet?
I mean, no. Good. Yeah. At least that I'm not aware of. So,
yeah. It's something that you have to watch out for every now and then. But of course, if you're only dealing with people that you know that you can trust or something like that, like then the chances of that happening go way down. But it's still something, you know. Maybe you. I hope not. But maybe it just always never take anything at face value. Mm-hmm. You know. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest challenge is you guys have faced as as paranormal investigators?
Finding locations in Ontario. Because I find that's why I know, because we're in southern Ontario. Like, if anyone's familiar, we're like right at the border of Buffalo, New York. Okay. So we're really close. Like, we're in Niagara region, mind you. There's a lot of haunted locations in Niagara, so we've kind of hit the more popular ones because they're there. But we're starting to run out of locations that are kind of willing for investigation.
Yeah. There's places that oh, that's haunted. I'm like, we can't go in there.
No. Like, for example, like there's it's called the Tunnel, which is it's a museum now. It's like the power plant. We contacted them. It's owned by Niagara Parks Commission, and it was gonna be $5,000 to rent it for like
Jesus
4 hours or something. And we're like. So like that's also a big thing because they pay for security. You have to find like a media clause, and I'm like, we're just a little channel. Like,
pay for filming rights.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
So it's kind of like weird stuff like that. There's forts. So there's Fort George in Niagara on the Lake. They don't allow you to. You can investigate, but you can't film it to release it. It's only for your own, and that's extremely haunted location. Old Fort Erie, which is I contacted them, haven't heard anything back, but they've had like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures. I've never watched those shows, by the way, just telling the truth. So, but so they were there. So I don't know if they only allow big people here. But I think it's the locations because like I did reach out to. There's like small locations that. Like, we're going to one on Thursday. It's a museum. It's a house. Like, Cottonwood Mansion also is a museum. They've opened up.
What's that other one?
To like paranormal. So,
that house.
Which house?
Brackenmore.
Oh, Brockamore. So the Brockamore, the original owners, it's a bed and breakfast. Allowed paranormal stuff, but then when I went, they didn't, and I should have done my research. I should have asked them permission before I went. So I paid for the night, and I asked, they're like, no, we don't allow filming. I was like, darn it. But then during breakfast, because of bed and breakfast, so me and Reese were there, and we're talking, and she's like, you know what? I really like you guys. She's like, I'll let you investigate. Come back when no one's here, but I have to like review your footage. So I was like, okay, fine. So like, there's a lot of that. So I think a lot of places around here don't want that paranormal vibe.
Gotcha.
On their places. Gotcha. So that's another thing. But I feel like in the States, there's just way more big locations. Like we do have places like Waverly, but you can't go in there, abandoned. Like you can't. It's like, and I don't do the trespassing thing. So.
Yeah, that's. I hadn't thought about that. That I guess in Ontario that I do know that in certain places, like in the UK, it's very rare for them to allow you to come and investigate. That's what I've been told. That because over there, it's a lot more taboo than it is on this side of the Atlantic. So it's just, I guess different places kind of handle things differently, and it's very interesting that the lady was like not really wanting it to be associated with something paranormal, and then went ahead and let you investigate anyway. That
Yeah.
kind of that kind of makes me feel like, you know, that they aren't like what Debunking said here earlier, as paranormal for profit. You know, yeah, interesting. What about, you know, balancing the excitement, right? This is something that I find can be difficult, especially if you don't have the right person with you. Balancing the excitement of finding something with the need to be cautious about jumping to conclusions. How do you balance that?
I don't know. Like what you see on our investigation is pretty much it. So I think I'm like I don't even know. Like I mean, I get a little bit more excited than Ron would say, let's say, because he's a little bit. But a lot of times, like it's because I'm trusting my gut in that moment. So maybe I'm feeling something that Ron's not feeling, so I might get a little bit more excited that way. I don't know. Yeah. That's a hard question because I don't really like yeah, I like I said, I have run and I.
Right. Do you? Well, okay. Let's make it a little bit more simpler. Do you have like a code of ethics that you use? Something
You mean?
Like when you go in, like I will, you know, you have certain things, certain rules for yourself, a certain way to ground and center yourself before you go in. I will not allow this group setting to influence my decisions, or you know what I mean? Do you have certain things like that you kind of set for yourself before you go in, or you just kind of, have you even thought about that?
No, I just go in and like I'm just like I stay true to myself. That's my biggest thing. So like if that's really it. Like I just straight like what I feel. I just stay true to myself. I guess that's the biggest thing. I don't really do anything, not that I can think of at least. I just kind of just do what I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're staying true to yourself, I suppose that does count as code of ethics, because there's something about when you're saying stay true to yourself, then there is a filter that you're viewing things through, whether you realize you're doing it or not. You know, it's something that's happening. What do you think the future holds for paranormal investigations with the advancement of technology as the way it is? I mean, I don't believe in the apps or anything like that, but I've seen some people do some really interesting things with devices that a lot of people don't use. You know, there are there's this thing that Matt Benton was using, and basically it takes EMF readings and it makes them audible. You can hear it. And you can find the source. If as you move closer to it, it gets louder. And I think that's a really interesting tool, right? To use. What do you think? You know, where do you think it's going? You know, if people start using more tools like that instead of, because I often question the thing about tools that are specifically made for hunting ghosts. You know, I you know. That's not to say that, I mean, you know, gosh, a hammer was made to drive a nail into a board. It doesn't make it fake, you know? But it's still, it's, you know, there are things out there that are yielding results because people want them to, you know? Where do you think it's going? Do you think that there's ever going to be a point where people are like, that stuff is just not real, that whole this device isn't real, or this makes this device much more legible or much more reliable? Do you think that we might get to a point like that?
I don't know. I mean, there's so many people like just I don't know. I guess it's hard to say, because unless there's like tangible 100% proof that everybody can see ghosts or whatever, I don't know if we'll ever really get there, because I think everyone, like, I think we're skeptic by nature.
Sure.
You know, we try to be more logical. So I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we're like, okay, yeah, like those things do what they do. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I don't think that we'll ever get to that point either. To be honest with you, I don't think, and at least not with where we're looking. I often wonder if it's even, you know, like if these things are even the spirits of the dead. You know, you know what I mean? Like, what if it's not that at all? And this is, and not that it's demonic or anything like that, but it's just something that we just don't understand. We don't know why, So if we're looking in the wrong places, we don't have the tools to pick up on these things. We'll likely never know, and because you can't see it, that makes it even more difficult to pinpoint what it is.
Exactly.
It's just this circle of questions that never get answered. You guys do live streams often. What do you love most about that?
Talking to people. I really nervous. When I do live streams, it's like not my comfort zone, but I do it because I want to talk to the people, like our friends, mostly. So that's why I do it, and kind of update people.
The sense of community.
In a sense of community, right? Because right now we're going through a lull of non-investigations. So I kind of, a little part of me feels a little bit guilty. So that's why I've been trying to do more live streams, just to that we're people are there to see us. You know what I mean? That we haven't kind of disappeared. But really, it's the community, and that's why I like doing it, because we don't get to see everybody all the time, or we're not always chatting with everyone personally, but you might see them in a live stream chat. So then usually when I don't see someone for a long time, I'm like, oh crap, are they okay? Because you don't necessarily have them on your friends list on Facebook or whatever. So I find it's kind of time to kind of gather as a group and talk. I can't even speak, talk about food in particular.
Oh man, yeah, guilty. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. There used to be a woman that showed up named Barbara, and I haven't seen Barbara in weeks and weeks and weeks, and I know no one knows who I'm talking about. And I'm like, where did she go? I hope, because what happened? Who knows? But you start noticing, when people aren't around, or you start noticing, like you say, you're starting to make all these friends. That really is just, I think it's my favorite thing as well. It's important for the community to have interaction. How important is that interaction to your investigations and your content creation?
I mean, it makes me, not that I would ever stray from what my morals are, but it definitely keeps me accountable. I want to give people the absolute positive, our experience. Obviously I can't, people have to trust us, right? So I think that community, and then kind of keeps us accountable to make sure that we're on the right track and that we don't stray, which I would never stray, but you know what I mean? I think that's
sure.
It. So.
Yeah. It's different when you have people watching you.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is. You're very active in other people's streams. I've mentioned I've seen you in my stream often. What's the biggest thing you think you've learned from engaging with this community?
People are so nice. I don't know. Just that we have friends in other parts of the world, and that they have our backs. I don't know. That's the best thing I can say.
Yeah.
Is that's why I feel guilty when I'm not in everyone's live streams all the time. I've been really busy with my work picking up, and the kids and stuff. So I feel really guilty for not being in a lot of people's live streams. If I'm just exhausted, or
summer too.
It was a really busy summer. So, but I feel that's it. Just the friends.
Have you and forgive me for not knowing this, have you done a live where you're investigating, like a live investigation? Have you done that?
No. The only reason why is because generally we're in locations for not super long time. So we kind of have to get down to business, and that's why. Also too, Wi-Fi, you don't know how strong their Wi-Fi is and all that technical stuff. And I don't, I'm just not I kind of just stick to
what you're there to do.
Yeah, actually though, I was at the back house, the very first time at the back house in Penetanguishene, Ontario. We live streamed from there, but we didn't live stream the investigation. We just live streamed us hanging out, me and Grace. But yeah, so that was the only time we ever did something like that. So.
Where are you? There it is. So you prefer to do it. You do your investigation privately. You're not broadcasting as it goes along. You say you've got X amount of time to do things, and obviously, when you're doing something live, there is, whether you realize it or not, there's a bit of pressure from the live audience. Because you've got people watching you in the moment and stuff like that. So I can see where just being there to do what it is that you're there to do and not really have that extra distraction, is something that it's good management on your part, you know, because yeah, it can be overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But you're both open to discussing new ideas, and what's a theory or belief that has made you pause and reconsider? You know, where like maybe there was something that you weren't necessarily on board with. Ron would probably have a good answer for this one too, by the way, because we're talking about something that he was interested in. Is there a theory or belief or something that happened that made you just go, there might be something to this?
Top of my head, I have one. The ghosts aren't demons. That was the most basic thing that it took me. Like, I still believed in the very beginning watching paranormal. So
here's my theory or concept on like when we go to locations that I kind of think. So these high places like Waverly Hills, Hospital on Old College Hill, Conjuring House, like all these hot ticket places that have, like, they say they're super haunted, the most haunted places in North America, and all kinds of activity. And when we go there and we're expecting like activity, like, oh yeah, we're going to experience something, which, you know, especially when I was telling my coworkers at work, I'm going to the Conjuring House, like, you're going to the Conjuring House? Well, I don't know, that sounds scary. I'm like, ah. But anyways,
no, it always is. Doesn't matter where.
So it's like, so we go. But the thing is, my theory is, and especially when you go, like usually 9 times out of 10, you have a guide. They walk you through the location. They're telling you stories of the location and things that have happened and experiences people have had or experiences they've had. And I'm like, and then we go and we spend the whole night there, and literally nothing happens. Or one little thing will happen, but not like a big, like, you know, oh, the cat balls are going off, and look, it's something is, you know, playing with us or whatever, right? So my theory, I feel about that is like, those people are there every day, in and out, right? So my theory is like, the spirits or whatever is there at that location is comfortable with that person, so they're going to make themselves known or present. We come in, they don't know who we are, they're going to be more distant. And they might, depending on how you as a person are acclimated to the paranormal, so whether you're like a, say, a medium, like, which I, again, not totally sold on mediums, but they seem to have more acclimation or acclimatized to communicate with spirits, right?
Right, man.
But that's kind of my theory, I think.
Yeah.
When it comes to locations, you know, us going in there, yeah, we're hoping we're going to experience something. Probably won't. The people that are always there, the tour guides or the people who own the location, like, they're obviously going to experience things because they're there every day.
Right.
We're only there for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, if I had the money and say, you know what, I'm going to rent the Conjuring House for a month, or I'm going to rent Waverly Hills for a month, and I'm going to go there every day and be there every day for, you know, basically live there. Yeah, maybe we will experience something, because now we're there every day for a month, 30 days. Like,
right.
I mean, I know there was that show on Netflix where they did that.
Oh, yeah.
That 28
days.
28 days or something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
8 nights or whatever it was, where I kind of watched a little bit of it, and then I'm like, man, this is.
I yell at the TV too much when I watch TV.
Yeah,
it's all.
I know what show you're talking about. Yes, well, that one you're talking about, the one that was on Netflix, and like that Tony, whatever his name is, the Warrens, like son-in-law. Yeah, I have a hard time with that. But yeah, I do. Being able to rent a place out for a month. I mean, God, like, wouldn't that be something? Cool? Yeah, you bet. But man, who has $30,000 or whatever, you know, for just to hang out? That's high rent. That's high rent. Yeah. And you don't even I doubt you even have a refrigerator or a stove. I'm not sure.
Right.
But yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. What do you think? I mean, you mentioned the reward of the community, right? But let's take it further. What about, your investigations? The things that you're doing are virtually all over the world right now. I mean, they're hotter in other places. Hotter. That's how YouTube works. But what do you think? How does that feel? Knowing that there are people, and whether they engage or not, you still have analytics, and you'll see it's like, oh wow, someone from Zimbabwe was watching. That's amazing. What how do you? What do you think? What's the most rewarding part about that? You think?
Yeah, that's pretty cool because because we're authentic investigators, like the best that we can do, and that we're showing people like what real paranormal is to us, obviously, because everyone has their own opinions on that, but I feel like people are seeing that and not seeing the fake people. Like, right. I don't know, that makes me feel pretty good about it. Like that we're putting out like this content out there for the world to see that like, oh, this is what real investigation is. Or that I kind of take a little bit of pride in like going to really known locations and it's not that active and going like, see guys.
Right.
Not all show.
Yeah, it's not all like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Not all demons.
Well, okay, so not all demons, just kind of, nonsense, right? Are there any paranormal trends or things such as demons or whatever, or everything being a demon, methods, paranormal trends that you think are total nonsense?
Okay. I was like, this and this and this. No. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. No, is it Ranonautica? Like,
yeah.
Is that where? Yeah, that stuff is like. It might put you into weird areas, but the YouTubers who do it is really annoying.
Right.
Believing the apps for what, like every word that comes out, thinking it's paranormal. That's a really bad trend. I don't know what. You're not really up on the. Or
no, I don't know if this pertains to like Ouija boards.
Oh, you don't like Ouija boards?
I don't like Ouija boards.
Don't like them or just don't believe in them?
I don't like them and I don't believe in them.
Okay.
I just, and again, that's probably due to the fact of me and my belief system and growing up and it being evil, trying to communicate with something that you really shouldn't be, So I don't know. And we did one, like we went to a tour thing and they had Ouija boards set up in areas and I just got an answer and I was talking to so and so, but anyways, it's not my thing.
Yeah. What do you think the difference between using a spirit box, say in the Estes method sort of way, which you were willing to do once, is different than using a Ouija board?
That's a good question.
I know my perspective on this. It's not really different.
What?
It's not different. I think the Ouija board has negative I can't say words. Has more negative because of the history of Ouija board. So I think my view has changed because I was like anti. I mean, I don't think I will ever use a Ouija board because I don't know how to use it properly. So I'll never use it. But we're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not gonna deny or argue that point. I mean, yeah, it's you're still trying to communicate with something. Just instead of using a planchette and a board with words and letters, you're listening to the radio stations cycling through. So, yeah, I guess, and then asking questions. And
just even asking questions, not even using equipment, just using
So.
But yeah, it's fair. It's fair to be uncomfortable, if something like that. For one thing, I think if you're using something like that, being uncomfortable is the worst thing you could be, because perhaps that could attract something that you don't want. You never know. If it all is energy and frequency and all that, then perhaps being on edge about something might yield something you may not want. How about this? Again, dealing with the community. Have you ever learned something from a fan or a fellow investigator even that changed the way that you investigate?
It's been 3.5 years, so I think the whole app thing, because not that I ever, like I already talked about this, but I feel like that, like certain pieces of equipment, I thought it had more like I believed it had more like
tangibility.
Yeah, that it was like more real, like, or not that I trusted it, you know. I'm like, I was so new, so I think being around other people kind of changed my mind on those things. So that's why that's why I don't use a lot of equipment anymore. So I think that's probably the biggest thing I've taken away from learning from other people, from the community, or from other YouTubers, specifically Crow.
Right. Real quick, I want to wish, I believe actually I should have done this way earlier. Wisdom has been a member for a month, it said, and now Sky Talk a member for 3 months. Happy anniversary to you guys, and thank you for the gifted membership to Foxfire. I appreciate that, Sky. You were an absolute legend. I love you so much. Thank you.
Guys, awesome.
We're almost at the 2-hour mark. I think I've got enough time for another question before our break. How do you stay open-minded while also staying grounded in your own beliefs?
I mean, that's a good question. Do you have a good...
Well, how do I stay open-minded?
But grounded.
But grounded? So, when Kassy first got into the paranormal, and again, she probably talked a bit about it, but I was like on edge because, again, I'm like always taught you can't talk to ghosts, you can't talk to spirits, can't communicate with the dead. They've moved on, they're gone, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no in between, right? What kind of changed my mindset on that is when I started thinking about it, I was like, well, wait a minute. When you're, praying to God, you believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And so then I'm thinking to myself, well, if we believe in the Holy Spirit, how can there not be spirits roaming this earth?
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my mind starts to think that way, so, I mean, it's fine to have that belief system, and I'm not knocking Christianity in any way because I still believe I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just more open-minded to other people's perspectives on the paranormal. Mm-hmm. I may not agree with everything. I may not like everything.
Mm-hmm. I'm
open to experience things and see things from my own perspective in a mind's eye. But that's
that's really good.
Kind of my thing on that.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, and it doesn't say that ghosts aren't real either in the Bible. As a matter of fact, ghosts are referenced more than once in the Bible. Right. And I often wonder if the ghosts are, let's say they are the spirits of whatever from people who were past, perhaps that they are our sin and our personality that we leave behind, because I don't think the soul and the spirit are the same thing. So I often wonder if maybe the spirit is just that shell of what was left of your essence, what your personality, your lust, your greed, all of that, and it's just left behind. Because you can't take that with you into heaven, right? If we believe in heaven, we can't carry our sin with us. So perhaps that's what's left over, and that's what this spirit is, or this ghost, or whatever. It's just a thought,
That's interesting.
Well, I've, as somebody who grew up around the same sort of environment, it wasn't strict by any means, as far as my Christianity upbringing, but it was definitely something that was infused into my early years and then my years as an early adolescent. So I think about things and ask questions. I think that's what we're here to do. I think that's what we're here to do. And I think when churches shut you off to asking questions, that they don't really understand what spirituality and what God is really all about. And that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think we're meant to ask questions. Yes, well, we've hit the 2-hour mark. And I imagine it is time for a break. I need to get me something to drink. and wind down for a second. So when we come back, we're going to take questions and call-ins. I would love to see some call-ins. I haven't seen call-ins for weeks and weeks. So I encourage everybody to start thinking about your questions now while we go on our break. And when we come back, it'll be for our last hour, speaking with both Kassy and Raun from Weeping Willow Paranormal. I am James Mitchell, and this is Into the Night. We'll see you in a bit. Hey, we are back with Kassy and Raun from Weeping Willow Paranormal. And this is the questions and call-in segment. You have your questions and call-in, so if you have a question, be sure to put it in the chat. It's capital Q, so that way I can determine what's a question and what isn't. And then if you want to come on, you can just click on that link at the top of the chat, and it'll put you backstage. If you're coming on to ask the question, you have about 60 seconds. I ask 60 seconds to ask your question, and feel free to stay on while Kassy and Raun answer your question, and then I just ask you to promptly leave, so that way we can get the next caller up as soon as possible. I will start with, what is a location you want to investigate but you haven't been able to?
Shaw Festival in Niagara-on-the-Lake. It is a theater that was built in 1911. So this place is reportedly has ghost stories, but it's a really old theater. They're going to be tearing it down in 2025, and they're going to rebuild on top of it because it's structurally not sound. It's still in operation. So, because I emailed them, and they said that right now they have a lot of plays going on, so time might be limited. So I don't know if they were open or just saying no. So it's a little bit better. But that place is like on my bucket list. I mean, I have so many, but that's probably on my like top. You have a place, or you don't really?
Kingston Penitentiary.
Oh yeah.
Kingston Penitentiary. Where's that located?
Kingston, Ontario.
Okay.
So it is the oldest jail in North America.
Oh wow, okay.
It was taken out of operation in 2013 or 14. And now they run it as like a museum.
Okay.
But it's definitely got some history. Like I mean, the building itself is all the structures all around. It's all made out of limestone. It was a jail, but in its sense, like when you're walking around, just it just has this vibe.
Yeah. Paul Bernardo actually was held there.
Yeah.
That was the jail he was in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anthony Lancelin is asking, any possibility that haunted locations around America were cursed by the Indians? Do you think that's something?
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, I don't know.
Wasn't the story about Cornstalk and how he was going to curse the land when he was... somehow I think it ties into Point Pleasant. Where the Mothman and all that stuff happens. I think there's some sort of legend about Chief Cornstalk who was ran out of his. Well, he was killed. He was killed out of his land by settlers, and he cursed the land, and people were, I think, trying to make the connection that had something to do with the Point Pleasant Bridge disaster and all that. It's definitely something that I've heard of. Yeah. Yeah, I think Native American lore and Native American spirits is a very real thing. and I think they had a lot of very interesting ideas as to what spirits were themselves.
Yeah.
Blueberry is asking Kassy, Raun, if you haven't already answered this, what was your first or favorite paranormal experience?
I guess, can we kind of do? Did I? But I mean, the Ghost Girl. But what's your favorite?
I'll say when we were in Virginia City and we were sitting at a table and we were playing poker. And again, I'm not saying we did or did not, but it was still fun. We had like REM pods set up, EMF readers, and like we had a hand set up for whatever
the
ghost, whatever was there. And one of the questions was like, "Do you like your hand?" And like when that question was asked, like the EMF, like everything was going off.
Yeah,
pretty crazy. Like it was weird.
That was weird.
And and then the hand, actually, the ghost won the round.
Yeah.
Poker. So that was kind of interesting.
Like, was it like it was? That's another thing. Of like, is it?
Was it coincidental?
Like,
was it, like
it was so weird.
Yeah.
That's cool. You lost poker to a ghost. That is a good story. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Tara asks, has more to do with spirits. Do you think your ability has opened up more to talk to spirits more easily?
I think so. I think now that I've been, because once I started watching more paranormal on, we had more things happening in our house. And then, and I think, I'm not saying I'm a medium because I don't think I am, but I think it's possible because then we started, I think I brought someone home from Cottonwood Mansion, a man in particular. And so, yeah, there's certain things happen and my kids started seeing it. So I think the more experience I've had, and trust me, I got more. And I mean, I'm not saying everything I've experienced is paranormal, maybe, I don't know, but it just feels like the more I've tapped into like me and other things too, like even with Ron saying about like my intuition and my empath and like that kind of stuff part, I think I have. So yeah.
Very good. Debunk the Junk is asking, thoughts on residual paranormal activity as it pertains to people experiencing the same activity in the same location over an extensive period of time. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think a lot of times, because I hear a lot on the stairs, and I don't necessarily think it is just like a ghost. I think it could be a ghost, but I think it's residual because like that is the main place people would walk up and down the stairs. So I think maybe that is residual, or people doing the same thing repeatedly over and they left their energy there. So I definitely think it's possible.
Right. So. Anybody else? Nothing yet. Feel free to fill up that chat with questions by all means. Is there a place you would never go back to?
I mean, the Conjuring House. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I actually would want to go back there under different owners, but anyways, just to see more. I guess more time, but you buy Mackey's, but that's being torn down, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, that counts. That counts. I was wondering if that would be your answer. Because
I would go back.
You would go back.
Yeah. I enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, it was
That's neat.
It was neat. Like the history behind it's really cool. I'm not saying that's not. There were like pictures of George Jones and all the old country stars and stuff. So like it was cool, but it was just gross. Like I don't know if it was too expensive for what it was worth. So
yeah, and the building is
structurally not sound.
No.
Yeah. Like, the building has lived its life. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Real quick, I want to thank Michael Minerals for the $4.99. Really enjoy this interview, Jimmy. Thank you. I am enjoying it as well. You get a like on that comment. Let's see here. We've got, I think Michael Burkeen is up next. What is the most haunted place you've ever been to? Asks Michael Burkeen.
From my perspective on this, because obviously it's going to be different for everybody. Washoe Club?
Okay.
I don't know. I saw a lot there. Like, not full body apparitions like Mackie Mansion, but I saw a lot of movement that shouldn't have been there. like movement going into a wall that shouldn't have been there. Heard a lot of EVPs. Like that place, like I love that place.
That's pretty cool.
I feel like I should have lived in, I mean, obviously I wouldn't necessarily want to live in that time period, but I felt like I love the Western. Like I love that time period. So the town in general, but
I would have loved to just stayed.
yeah.
It's an awesome.
So yeah, well, I think Washoe Club.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Washoe Club. I've heard some interesting audio come from there too, which is my thing. I love audio, so I've never been, but I'd like to go. I'd like to see what that place is about. Blueberry asks, Kassy, have you rescheduled your reaction to the Conjuring movie?
Yes, I preemptively, or I was too excited, so I wanted to do it right away. And then I realized I'm an idiot and I don't have enough time for doing it right away. So I am, because this is going to be a totally different editing adventure for me, because I'm so basic. So it's going to take a lot out of me. So I want to make sure I give it all my all to give you guys
A good experience.
Right. So I'm hoping, I don't want to say a time, because I really want to get those 3 movies out for you. It might just be like, my goal is probably for hopefully next week. And then I'll do the other movies too. But I should have not did that. It's my own fault for. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna do it. I wanted to be back on schedule.
Right.
Yeah, that's my own fault. So yeah.
Well, you're allowed. You're allowed. It's your channel. Things happen. You've got stuff going on.
I know.
Debunk the Junk asks, thoughts on whether or not we can contribute to paranormal activity in a location by the energy we bring with us?
I think so. I mean, like there's that theory about poltergeist, right? It's our energy, causing that poltergeist activity. I think if you're more ramped up, I think that could shift the energy. Like fear, anything, I think could shift. So I think it's potential, yeah.
Right. Very cool. Cynthia Bossy, it's her 3-month anniversary as well. Yes, time certainly does fly. And Hair Force has been a member for 2 months. Thank you both so much for helping sponsor the channel. I appreciate you very much. I really do. And without all that, and without all of you guys, this show wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be here. Pains me to say I'm going to take the next couple of weeks off because I've got to knuckle down on this documentary. I've got to take some time off, and I know it's just one day, but it can really disrupt the flow of what I'm trying to do with this other thing, and I've got to get it done. And darn it, I hate to do it, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to take a break after tonight. Will probably be the last one for a little while. Let's see here. Anybody else have a question? Yeah, here we go. Blueberry, what was your very first investigation?
So that was Prince of Wales in Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Right.
Yes.
And yeah, I think Blueberry's kind of been in and out, so she probably didn't hear that, and that's perfectly okay. I don't mind covering stuff again. And with that investigation, remind us, was there anything that kind of stuck out to you? No? Not
really. I mean, because that was our first attempt at an investigation in general. So, and it was like me and Raun. So like Raun was at that time was like just there for the ride. And so like I was going based off of what I watched other people do.
Right.
So I don't know, like I didn't really get any vibes there either. But also then like was I in tune that much back then? Like it's hard to say.
You were new to it.
I was new. The only thing that was kind of weird that I pointed out in my video, but I don't necessarily agree because I don't believe in orbs.
Right.
To the point. I mean, I believe them to an extent, but not to what people say.
Sure.
Like you
Sure.
know. So
I do.
there was a little orby thing. We left the room. We were downstairs for our very delicious breakfast. And I left an EMF reader. So also 2 things I don't necessarily agree with, but I had left it on the, now I don't necessarily agree with. Pillow, orby thing flew by, and then the EMF reader spiked. And I had the EMF on a bed. So, but I didn't see that until obviously reviewing the footage. So that was weird, but not enough to say it was paranormal. Who knows, but yeah.
Right. Thank you, Sky Talker, for the gifted GhostQuest membership. It goes to Caroline Saxby. So very good to me. I appreciate you so much. My goodness. Tara asks if you could talk with anyone, or no, it says if you could take anyone with you, who would it be?
Crow.
Crow?
Crow.
Crow.
that what you said? Oh, I thought you said crow immediately. That's what I thought you said.
Yeah.
No. I was like, no, but crow. That's accurate.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely there to. I would love to do that too. I'd love to hang out with that guy, especially in that kind of setting. See what happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be.
Yeah.
That'd probably.
The closest we got was when we were at the Conjuring House.
Yeah, he was on the phone.
He was on the phone. that was probably the closest.
Yeah.
That was fun too.
Yeah.
Michael Burkina asks, who gets the most scared and or excited when something happens on an investigation?
I mean, me, because Ron's like, I don't feel that. What's that?
I literally, it takes a lot to get me scared. So.
I mean, I've been startled and stuff, but yeah, no, it's definitely because I'm the one feeling things. So usually I'm a little bit more, I guess, open. So that's probably why it happens to me. And Ron's definitely like, I feel fine.
Right. Excuse me. Have you ever had a fan suggest somewhere to go? And did you go? Does that happen?
I know, I'm trying to think. But I've had a lot of people tell us stuff like, oh, I know. I don't know. It was one of our live streams recently, and I booked it. So we're going to Wildwood Sanatorium in Salamanca, New York in February. So I booked it for February. So someone suggested that, I believe. But it has been on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Do you get to drive down there? Are you going to fly or?
Oh, drive. It's only 2 hours.
Not even 2 hours.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you can find something that close. And if you have to go back for any reason, you can. It's feasible,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know the area.
And he knows the area, yeah.
Do you run into a lot of toll roads?
Not
I know that's such a boring
question.
question, but they're a thing, and I hate them.
Oh, you know what? The state of is it Illinois?
Mm-hmm.
Terrible for tolls.
Yeah.
I just remember the traffic being horrible.
Remember, like it seemed like every 5 or 10 minutes you're going through a toll booth, and I'm like, another toll booth? What the heck?
Right.
Another toll booth? Yeah. I remember that was our trip when we were going to Utah.
So we don't have any of them in Canada. I mean, we have like the 407.
We got the 407.
But you don't have to like.
If you look up the 407, it's the most expensively tolled highway in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
In the world.
It's stupid.
It's
That's
stupid.
crazy.
It's
Yeah.
just this section of highway that kind of takes you around Toronto, which like Toronto can get crazy with traffic. So it is nice to hop on the 407, but it's so stupid expensive.
Yeah.
Wow. Air Force One, thank you for the 99 cents. I appreciate you, my friend, very much. Raw Side Paranormal, Laura asks, do you think spirits have a time limit here on Earth? That's an interesting question, right?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I don't think we really know. I mean, like, I'm thinking if their energy dissipates, maybe they're gone. Because, I mean, I feel like spirits are energy. So maybe if they're like, I don't know. That's a really good question. It's hard to say.
If they do have a time limit, that invokes the question, well, what are they meant to do in that amount of time as a spirit? What purpose? More questions, damn it.
Yeah.
Booberry asks, is it easy for you to come here into the U.S. to investigate? Crossing the border can be daunting these days, from what I understand.
Yeah. I mean, we're so close.
We only had trouble that one time. Remember going to where were we going? We were going to was it going to the Conjuring House? Remember we had all the equipment? Or was that
Hinsdale House?
Hinsdale House.
Yeah, because we had equipment and it was just like.
And the guy's like, oh, you should have registered this and
like your camera.
There's a form to fill out. Because he asked the value of our equipment we were bringing over, and we're like, all right, guys, I don't know, like $5,000, and I was like, I don't think it's that much.
Well, my camera alone though is.
I know, but. Anyways, long story short, he's like, well, you really should have filled out a form, and this is and blah blah blah, and like he was like kind of giving us a little bit of a hard time, but we got through anyways.
Yeah,
it was just weird. He's like, yeah, well, because when you come back, how do we know
And
that
we
you
were
didn't,
fine.
how do we know that you didn't buy the equipment here in the States and then you're trying to bring it back over into Canada? And like, it just became this whole long, like, but we were fine.
Yeah, it's fine. One instance of Conjuring House. So we have a 12-passenger van.
Oh yeah.
Because we have 5
We
children.
got a big van.
It pulls our trailer too because we have a camper. Anyways, we drove it to the Conjuring because we were gonna fit a lot of people in our van. So instead of driving 2 vehicles, we were to just fill our van up with all the adults, right? So we go over the border and they're like, they gave us the what for about our van. We're like, it's ours. I'm like, and they're like, why do you have a big van?
Yeah,
we're like,
why are you taking a big van?
yeah, we're like, or no, is this yours? And then why do you have a big van? We're like, we have 5 kids. And she's like, oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just like, what in the world?
Yeah.
So,
I
anyways.
probably wouldn't go well, but if I were, like, if I'm in those situations, it's like, well, because I'm clearly hauling drugs across the border.
Right.
We'll just get everybody to stop, and then everyone's got to get out of the van now, and they've got to look. Don't take me anywhere. I'll get you in trouble. Michael Burkina asks, how many times have you gone into an investigation and not and left with no evidence?
Well,
Left with no evidence?
Yeah.
Like a few times at least.
yeah.
Conjuring House.
Yeah.
Old Angel Inn was hard because we witnessed something there the first time we were there, but we didn't catch anything really on the camera. The first time we were, we've had a handful of times. Like, and even then, like, what times we have caught stuff, some have been like, oh my gosh, yeah, paranormal.
Did
But
we catch anything at the hospital in College Hill?
nothing crazy.
I don't think there was anything crazy there.
Oh, not on camera. We had experiences, but nothing. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say, but not hackable. Like, I mean, at least a
Fair
handful.
enough. I've got to go back. I missed a question by Tara again. She's asking, do you have you ever had something go missing in your house and think maybe it was something paranormal?
I mean, remember my smart car key?
Oh my gosh.
So we had a smart car. We don't have anymore, which is hilarious because we have a huge van and it had a smart car. Anyways, my smart car key went missing. Could not find it. Searched and searched and searched. And then when I stopped looking for it, it was in our bathroom in a container full of towels. And our kids are older, so they're not hiding things from us. So that was weird.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only thing really's gone missing.
Yeah, and then it's one of those things where you're like, am I going crazy? Did I mess with these towels and why is this here? What's going on? Then you're going over it in your head and over. And
Yeah.
yeah. Booberry asks, do you think you'll ever get to go outside the Americas to investigate? You ever going to go across the Atlantic and go see some stuff over there?
One day, maybe.
One day. It's on our bucket list. I would love to go to Scotland in particular.
Maybe when the kids are all grown up and I'm retired. So it's not for another 16 years.
Yeah. But I would love to go Loch Ness.
Totally.
I don't know. I would love to go
cool.
to like Scotland in particular, Ireland, England. I would like to actually go to Poland. That's where my dad's side of the family's from. So I would love to that'd be cool to go into some like Slavic stuff. But I had to bring my dad for a translator. But anyways.
Looking back. Here we go. Sorry, Waterhorse had asked a question, and I missed it entirely. There was no capital Q in front of it. So I missed it. I apologize for that. Kassy, as a fellow sensitive, how young were you when you first experienced what you would call paranormal?
Well, according to my parents, I was 3 or 4. I don't remember that instance, but that's when I started screaming and crying and my parents thought I was took out of the car. So probably that's probably the youngest. When I can remember, I would have been maybe kindergarten, grade 1-ish. Because I remember seeing things in the windows and waking my parents up and stuff. But yeah, probably that young.
Okay. Booberry is asking if it's been answered. Don't ask. Oh, that was for me. So, whoops. How did you settle on the name Weeping Willow Paranormal? That is a wonderful question.
I love willow trees.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. So I have 2 favorite trees, willows and birch trees, and Weeping Willow just sounded cool. So
Right.
I went Weeping Willow. paranormal. And we have a dog named Willow. She's 9 years old. But yeah, so I just love willow trees.
Very cool. Yeah, I've wondered that myself. I don't know why I didn't ask that question before. Good thing Blueberry is here to pick up the slack where I'm lacking. Tara asks, do you think too many people are getting into the paranormal for the wrong reasons?
I think so. I mean, I think if they're out for fame and not trying to show people paranormal, like true paranormal, there's that. Yeah, I'm just reading the question again. But yeah, no, I think... Do you think there's too many? I mean, I don't always say everyone's doing that, but I think a high number of people are going into the paranormal because of, like, to get YouTube famous and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's...
Yeah, it's
That's
definitely a factor. Let's say you could only take one piece of equipment, just one, into an investigation. What are you taking with you?
A camera.
Because you got the best of both worlds there. You got video and audio.
Yep.
It's smart. Just making sure I haven't overlooked anything. Doesn't look like it. What's the most bizarre piece of paranormal evidence you've captured?
That mimicking voice. I kind of talked about before you weren't here, but like in the moment we didn't hear it, but after fact we did. So that was probably the most bizarre because it was really truly unexplainable. Like I can't explain it. And that same location, that's why like Cottonwood Mansion is kind of one of those, like no one really knows about it. Because they just started letting people, like outside people, start investigating. But I also have a YouTube short where I said, okay, we're gonna leave now, and all of a sudden you hear "don't," and it was like that was really crazy too. So, but yeah, but the weirdest was the mimicking because I can't explain it because I seriously thought I did something, but I didn't. So.
Right. Laura from Rothside Paranormal was asking, how do you feel the fakers are affecting the real investigators?
Well, basically, like the people who don't really like they follow like paranormal and are not fans, or not, they are fans, but they're not like my brain just had a complete brain fart. I feel like people who are just like are fans of paranormal will believe the fakers, and
Right.
then the fakers are like, so when you have stuff or not happen, they're like, oh, you're boring, and then or I don't know, I think that's like it. Or people who are like very hugely skeptic and something does happen that's legit, they're not going to believe you because the fakers too.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah. So. There's really so many aspects as to how it damages, but it is something that it's just a danger that I think we all have to face and have to be aware of. As when you're doing this, people get into it for whatever reasons they get into it for. You had an experience when you were a kid, or you lost somebody, or whatever it is. And when you have people who kind of meddle and really don't have any kind of ties to it whatsoever, or sometimes what happens is, because there's such an abundance of paranormal media, how do you filter what's real and what isn't? I mean, to some of us it's extremely obvious, and it can be amazing what will fool people, what does fool people, things that are clearly some sort of production and someone's believing. It's just crazy, I think really when it comes down to it, though, there are people who fool themselves by mistake, and you can't be mad at anybody for that. And people are learning, and they're willing to take that criticism and figure out that point of view, and then push forward. Then those, every now and then, something comes out of the ashes that's worth it. You know what I mean? There's every now and then there's a phoenix, I guess. Tara asks, what do you think of Kenny Biddle's work?
Legit. He's pretty cool. He lives actually just in Buffalo, which is like 15 minutes from us. There's no wait at the border.
Right.
So, I think he definitely has opened my eyes a lot. I think for different things. So I think he's great.
He's a quirky guy.
He's super funny.
Yeah.
I think he's cool.
Yeah, well, since he's so close, that would be a cool. You haven't worked with him yet, I take it.
No.
We probably would like to, though.
Yeah. I mean, he invited us over to his.
He did invite us over to his studio.
Yeah.
You guys are always more than welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be something cool, especially since it's so close. It's definitely tangible. It's definitely something that can happen.
Maybe,
so,
going to the Wildwood Sanatorium, maybe he would like to join us.
Yeah, is there a limit for people there? I'll have to find out.
Well, there you go. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Very cool. Well, hopefully, even if it doesn't happen, I'm sure that trip is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to whatever you guys decide to put out on that. Michael Burkeen asks, why do you think so many people choose to fake evidence? Because I believe if a place is really haunted, there shouldn't be any reason to fake anything, right? So, very, very, very true. Say again?
It's just like stardom.
Right? Yeah, because I mean, obviously, most of these people are. Obviously, there's people who do TV shows and they're just doing it so people will watch. But then, same thing with YouTube people, though. They're faking. They're just wanting for views.
Yeah.
So,
it's right. Yeah, attention. People want to be recognized in public. Stuff like that. Yeah. Blueberry's asking, do you ever investigate with anyone there in Canada? I can't think of anyone I've seen you with at the moment. Hopefully it's not a silly question. I don't think that it is a silly question. Is there anyone that you've investigated with? Oh, go ahead. No, I was just repeating the question.
Yeah. No, we have investigated with a few teams that are based in Ontario. Also, we've been collabed with, I know people have a thing about mediums, but we have done two, actually, that's another really good location, Hansberger. Yeah. So, two mediums, I trust them. So, I've known Amanda for a while now, going back beginning of COVID. So it's been at least 2020. And I just recently met Karina. She interviewed me for a podcast. And she's that witch Karina, so she's really cool. So I have done that type of collabs, which is really interesting. I trust them, so yeah.
It's very cool. Interesting.
Yeah, a different perspective too on it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is very important. I think that's just like you have to have that. I think always bringing somebody another perspective in is important. Again, like the idea of bringing Kenny Biddle along with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Waterhorse is asking. And I'm interested in this question too, because I at one point was like, wow, that's really cool. If Cody and Satori are for real, that's pretty amazing. Waterhorse is asking, I'm on the fence with Cody and Satori's abilities. I really like them and I want to believe. What do you think?
No.
I don't know. I don't know. You don't want to talk negative about people. It's not nice, but
I don't.
To like it just.
From what I've seen, people, I don't know. Yeah. It'd be really cool if it was real, but
honestly, in order to make me a true believer in their theory and how or what they do, I would have to be there in person and watch it and see it for myself.
Yeah.
Right.
So. And of course, when we were there at the Conjuring House, they weren't there. How convenient. Well, it's random, right? Yeah. But anyways, a lot of politics on that. And you probably don't want to get into that, but
right. Absolutely. I understand. I understand both perspectives here, and for me, it's the same thing, right? Like. I don't think that that's real, but my God, it'd be awesome if it was. And I'm willing to go into a room with them and see it firsthand.
Sure.
Then I can give you a solid. This is absolute bullshit, or this is pretty fucking amazing. Me, watching it in the perspective as the same as Waterhorse. We're all seeing it through a screen, and I've been in a situation more often where I wanted it to be real and it wasn't. More often than I have wanted it to be real and it was. But, so I hate to shoot down your hopes and dreams, but at the same time, it's all about those questions are welcome because this is somebody who, is just asking something that we've often discussed already, but it's just to see it come up. It's like, okay, this person wants to know, and there's nothing wrong with that's what this whole thing is about. So, great question. I'm glad that you were here to ask. Tara asks, do you think people charge too much money out there to go to these places?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Because there's a lot of places that don't charge a lot, and they're fine.
For instance, one place that doesn't charge a lot is Octagon Hall.
Yeah, Octagon Hall is really affordable. I feel like it's $300.
$300.
Where we're going on Thursday is 100 or 150
A night?
Yeah.
150 a night? That's not too bad. I don't think. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, and they're so that'd be even cheaper in US dollars. But it would be like but they're a museum that they're preserving history too, so it goes back into the museum. So there's that Cottonwood Mansion was kind of expensive because I rented it out like
a venue.
Because you can rent it for weddings and stuff. So I kind of paid because I was the first overnight investigation. So it was kind of expensive, but all of it went right back into the museum.
I'm okay with doing that.
Yeah, Cottonwood Mansion, that place is under. Holy crap! But anyways.
Yeah, yes, it's amazing how much stuff costs. Like I said, we're talking about Waverly, and everybody knows the Conjuring's outrageous prices. Yeah. But the Monroe House, which is only 2 hours from me, is like, I think it was 175 a night, or maybe 150 a night, something like that.
Joe's trying to get us to go up there with him.
It's a far drive. Well, 12 hours. I think.
We do it. I mean, it's definitely on our
It's on our bucket list.
list.
So.
That's my next target, and I'm trying to get it for a week. So it's not a month, but I mean, I'm like you. It's like the more time you spend there, the more time you have for something to kind of happen.
You connect, right?
Right.
That's my theory. Making a connection with a location, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Booberry asks, for someone who hasn't ever watched any of them before, which of your videos would you suggest watching?
Probably Cottonwood Mansion episode 4, just because that's where the mimicking voice is. Was there any ones that stick out to you? The Cottonwood Mansion, the Washoe Club episodes, Hansberger was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hansberger was pretty cool.
Right on. Here's a random question from Dragon Ranger. I kind of like this one. It's a weird one, he says. Is U.S. currency accepted in Canada? I heard once that it was.
It is. Okay, depending on where. Because if you're in Niagara Falls, Ontario, which is a touristy town, yes, it's a lot easier. I'm not sure if they would accept it in like small towns. U.S. currency. I don't 100% know that because we grew up in Niagara Falls, so like with used to us, like you could pay, like go to Tim Hortons.
I don't know where you are.
But even in small towns, though, can you pay in US dollars?
Yeah, you just do the exchange rate.
I guess so. Well, yeah, maybe. Depends on how small a town you're in, but yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Money, guy. Money is money.
This one's for the audience. If you could join Kassy and Raun on any investigation, where would you want to go and why? Go ahead and put that in the chat. I asked you about someplace you'd like to go but haven't been able to. Goodness, we've got. If your viewers could control what kind of content you create for a week, what kind of investigations or topics do you think they'd choose?
Oh, that's a good question. If they could control us, they probably would put us in. I don't even know. Where would they put us?
What?
Like if our viewers could put us anywhere, they can control us. Where would they put us? I would hope they would put us in Virginia City. That place just investigate the whole town. Like I'd just be like every night it would be a different location. Yeah. That
would be a dream. That'd be a dream.
That would be like, oh.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time there and not do the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. What's a place that you visited where you felt like you didn't get enough time?
Oh,
Almost every
everywhere.
location.
Every location.
Not
Oh.
enough time. Cottonwood Mansion, Hansburger, I don't know.
Yeah.
Washoe Club, Mackey Mansion.
Yeah.
Mackey Mansion, we left there with the
Oh my
rooster,
gosh.
the rooster crowing.
It's like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. So tired. Like we were up all night.
Yeah.
Well, we fell asleep on the floor at one point.
Well, not me.
Yeah, me, Jason, and
Yeah.
Bobby. We were sleeping on the floor, like napping. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. It was good times.
that was good.
That was such a that's a trip of a lifetime.
And then he
that I'll
dropped my
never-
camera,
Oh god.
so it still survived.
Oh man, I felt so bad. I'm like,
It just fell off the tripod. Like the thing just slid out.
yeah.
I lost
Nothing you
footage.
could do.
Down the stairs, and Jay's like, that didn't sound good.
That's the last thing you want to hear. My God.
Yeah.
Michael's asking, so what do you think about using items such as children's toys, like a Simon, or he calls it Simon Says. I believe what he's talking about is it was called a Simon, and it's got like red, yellow, blue, and green, and it do. I think that's what he's talking about. He wants to take one of those on an investigation. Well, I think it would be pretty interesting, or a toy car. His theory is that if they can touch it, they can touch it. But if he can touch it, they can touch it. I wonder. My thing is this: when it would have to be altered. The Simon would have to be altered to not play or something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because when it's playing, you know, like that's the machine itself. But being able to have some sort of device that will set off tones like that, that would be pretty interesting and pretty cool. I think. I don't know. I don't know what it would mean, but it would definitely be something worth witnessing at least once.
Yeah, we have.
That bear that you bought.
Oh no, I wasn't. My Karen gave it to me. No,
Oh,
but I had a doll.
That's what I mean. That's
Oh, the
other bear.
So you know, it's a baby toy where you touch the hands and different things. Like it does like an alphabet and sings songs.
Right.
But it wasn't reliable because what did it happen to it?
I don't know.
No, I know what happens in our house, but I meant like I don't know. They were saying it didn't make sense. Like you. Oh, it timed out. So it just shut off by itself. And then I bought a motion sensor doll. It's like a baby alive doll, but it bounces and it's motion sensor. So I tried that, but I don't know what it's also set off by light, which we debunked at Chase Manor. So that's also, it's kind of like the music box, but it's set off by like light and movement. But we had it in a room, brand new batteries. Why are you laughing?
Sorry. Jeez.
So anyways, we had it in a room by itself, and when I went to get it, it was completely dead. So that was weird. But it was kind of cool, but it was too many things you could debunk it on, so.
Right. Blueberry is asking, how long have you had your blue hair?
2 years? 2
years.
Probably? Yeah, probably, because I had purple hair in the very beginning 3 years ago. So yeah, around 2 years.
It works really well with your blue light as well.
Thanks.
Yes.
Blue's my favorite color.
Yeah, I am partial to blue myself. I don't think I could rock the blue hair like you do, though. I don't think that would work for me.
Me either.
You should try.
Blueberry's asking, is there any place you haven't been that for some reason you just have no desire to go?
Oh. I don't know. I'll go anywhere. Like, I'll literally go to any location once or twice or a million times. But no, there's been no, like, I mean... No, I think I'd go anywhere. I don't think there's a place I wouldn't go. Even if it's reportedly haunted by only, like, the fake ghost hunters, I would still go to see if it's real or not, so.
Right. If you could investigate with anyone in the paranormal field, living or dead, who would it be?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And
Paranormal field, Ron.
Oh. Sorry. Dan Aykroyd.
Oh!
yeah, that's a great one. That's a great
Yes,
one.
I conclude on that one. Yes.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
He would be pretty cool. Didn't he have a television series or something?
Yeah.
I think he did. Yeah.
Paranormal or something. I don't.
I have his brother's. Is it his brother's book? I have it. Yeah.
But I swear he did some sort of thing with the paranormal. Like
He did host something once. I think. Yeah. It was some sort of special that he was the host of. I think they only aired one episode of it because it was only meant to be like a 2 hour, an hour and a half long or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he's a fellow Canadian.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Some of the best people are, you know. I love Canadian humor. You know, like I haven't seen something from like Kids in the Hall, or the Trailer Park Boys, or SCTV. You know, Letterkenny. I started watching Letterkenny. I didn't get sucked in yet, but I'm waiting. I also am doing a lot of things, but I watched the first episode and was like, okay, I'll probably come back to this. But yeah, so that's a Canadian thing too. I didn't realize that. Let's see here. What we got here? Anybody? No, nothing yet on the questions from the stream. So, if budget and travel and time weren't factors, where would you go? What would it be like? The place that you're just like, that's where I'm going.
I mean,
Egypt.
Egypt?
Yep. Egypt.
I would go to Scotland.
No, sorry. I take that back. I take it back. Japan.
Oh.
No, very cool.
I would say Scotland.
Yeah.
And the reason I say Japan is because there are buildings that are there that are like almost 5,000 years old that are still standing and being used today.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the energy that's there?
Yeah.
5,000 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Ancient, beyond ancient almost.
Yeah. Yes.
Norway's like that too. There's a lot of buildings and
so cool.
Yeah, very cool. That was one thing of my favorite things growing up was just like Japanese culture. How they just it's very spiritual in their own way, and the tradition. They stick to those things, and I find it very admirable. Very admirable.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like when you think about the samurais, right? And how those swords were passed down from generation to generation to generation. And like and there were samurais around still to like I think the First World War. Right? Like actual, sword wielding samurais. Like that culture is just, when you think about it, it's kind of sad how it kind of fell, but that's just the nature of the beast. But Japan is definitely on my bucket list to go to and see.
Man, that'd be cool. From Tara, thank you for reminding me, Blueberry. Tara is asking, did you ever think in a million years that you would be doing paranormal things?
No. I don't know. My family doesn't, like, when I told them I was doing this, they went, okay. Like, it's something like they probably thought I would eventually do, maybe, because I've always been interested in the weird. I never thought I would be putting it on YouTube. I mean, then again, I didn't even know investigating was a thing until like 5 years ago. Right. So, which is kind of crazy because I read all those Haunted Canada books, so maybe you just didn't clue in. But, so yeah, I don't think so. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually, but not you.
Well, I can't believe it's already been almost 3 hours. Yeah, we got time for another question in the audience if somebody has something. I'll ask one. People just starting out the paranormal, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Have an open mind. Be careful, because you can probably stir up things that you don't want to stir up. So be respectful, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you're the first time going out, just be mindful of what you're doing and be honest. That's all. Be true to what you believe, I guess, if that makes sense.
And don't go alone. I think at least have one person there, especially if you're going to an outdoor location, because people are more scary than ghosts.
Right.
Yeah, I think that
Sure
and you don't need a lot of equipment, like because like all those shows. I mean, I started off with a lot of equipment. Like Ron's kind of blocking it, but you want to move for a second. So that case is my paranormal stuff.
Oh, cool.
But I literally only I hardly any of it.
Like
So
just
I have a drone.
Stuff,
I have a drone, but that's just for like B-roll. But
Right.
our friend gave it to us, Jason. But yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
All right, very good. Well, it's been a wonderful 3 hours. Thank you for spending it with me. And I want to thank the community as well for spending it with us. It's been awesome. I'd love to have you guys back on sometime. And
Sure.
yeah, I'm just in Indiana, so maybe we can all meet up sometime. You know, if you guys can figure out. I don't know when I'm going to the Monroe house, but I wouldn't mind having somebody else come out one of the nights while we're out there. If you guys want to come out and hang out with us.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how the cards fall as they are given to us. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for being with me tonight and letting me interrogate the shit out of you. I hope I didn't make you guys too uncomfortable.
Oh, cool. You're a very good host, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh well, thank you.
Lots of great
Thank
questions.
you.
So.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. Well, having great guests makes my job a lot easier, so I can't take it all. All right, guys, I appreciate you so much. This has been Into the Night with James Mitchell and Kassy and Raun from Weeping Willow Paranormal. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.